A crossover is
crossover dribble.
sing for the crossover.
Kyrie Irving, crossover in the lane.
One of the most famous crossovers of all time.
Behind the back, an ankle breaker on Chris Paul.
Crossovers.
The crossover continues to evolve.
All right, time for the crossover. Brought to you by Every Little Time Crew here in Omaha.
Let me turn down Gary's screaming headphones. Jeez.
No, I think the jack is messed up.
I don't, because I can leave it on like a quarter volume and hear it just fine, man.
I
think it's
actually,
your ears.
Gary, aren't you on bottom jack, not top jack?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not Gary's.
Hey,
No comment.
See?
Well, the top one is like
Context.
slammed all the way
Well
wide
played.
open when I come in.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, okay,
I don't know
so-
who does mine
so
too.
this goes back. You've had a life of wearing cans.
I have.
So people get on me because they go, "Can you not hear?" And I'm like, "Yeah, probably that's true." But the worst was Nick Baugh.
Oh,
Like-
I've heard stories.
So Nick is
Yeah.
loud. So
Really?
you know, and Nick is animated. He's funny, and he's got that laugh. But when
was a
Nick was
terrible
doing his
impression.
show, when Nick worked here, and he did a daily midday show,
He did that.
and I came after Schick and Nick, but when you could be like where the front desk is here, and you could hear Nick talking.
Yes.
Nick is very loud. I mean, he's very
Got a
dynamic.
resonant voice.
But people would say, "Man, you and Nick can't hear." And I said, "What do you mean?" Because when the afternoon guys would come in, they're like, "It's all cranked up," and they're like, they're blown away. Like,
Yeah.
So I blame Nick. He's
All
not
right.
here to defend himself. I blame Nick.
That's fair.
It's the best
totally
policy.
fair.
Just blame the people who aren't around.
But I'm pretty sure that because of broadcasting, my hearing has
Yeah.
dropped.
Mine too.
It's also a problem with the youths today who have their headphones in like 18 out of the 24 hours.
Oh, you
of the day.
can. People grocery shop now with their pods and
A full on like over ear headphones.
If
People just
you
walking
Some,
around.
yeah.
are looking
Some.
for a wise investment, maybe you invest in some type of hearing aid company now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
in
'cause
20
everybody's
years,
Belltone.
everybody's going to have the broadcast effect of like Gary laid out.
just
Now,
put those buds in their ears
Yeah,
like it's not doing permanent damage.
Well, and then your phone lies to you because it's supposed to tell you what the level of your hearing is.
Yep.
Yeah, they're probably underestimating.
I mean, I don't remember where we were. I was out with the family and we saw this group of teenage girls. There was like 4 of them. They were all together. They were friends. It was obvious that they were friends.
Were they making a TikTok?
Every one of them, they were like in a group together. All of them had over the ear headphones on, like hanging out and they're like talking to each other, but also have
their
headphones on. I'm just
oh
like,
man, that's chaotic. That's a lot of
I
noise.
don't know how I couldn't
Yeah.
live with that. Like,
Now, along those lines,
but I'm old. I'm old now. Like,
I
I
almost-
get
am
it.
too. Yeah,
Like, that's it.
Yeah,
That's-
I don't get the youngs.
I'm the
So,
old.
about 5 years ago, I was approached. I almost invested in something to bring to Omaha. Have you guys heard of the silent disco?
No.
No.
Okay, so I first saw it in downtown Des Moines, and you go in and you buy or you rent your admission fee is these headphones, and that's your music.
Okay.
And you're in a
I have
dance
heard of
club,
this, yes.
so it's called a silent disco.
What
you are you're grooving to your own thing
Yes.
on your headphones, and everyone
At
else
a-
around
at
you
a
is doing
club.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, at a club.
No, I
And-
don't like this.
Yeah, the silent disco. It's very popular at all inclusives. I've seen it a couple times.
Oh.
So this
But why,
person,
what's the point? I don't understand. Why do
you
that?
can still go clubbing,
yeah.
but you have your control of your own music.
Yep, you control the music. It's also very good for the residents that maybe decide to go back to their villa and they don't want to hear the disco going on till 2 a.m. But you can still get down with it. But you just got to put the earphone.
Don't stay in the villa next to the disco. That'd be my advice.
Come on, you're there to party, man. Come
What
on.
all inclusive did that to you?
Yeah.
But
I've
there
actually
was-
never been to an all-inclusive.
There was somebody
so-
that was bringing this concept to Omaha, and
Oh, the actual club, right?
yeah, I wasn't like me individually. It was like a group of
Yeah.
people, and they're like, "We got this great idea," and this whole PowerPoint. And
Yeah.
I'm like, Then they got to the point where they were looking for the investment, and they had a number on it, and I was like, "I'm good for $5 or $10."
Dollars. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
But I don't think I think it's a concept that is kind of petered out.
Omaha doesn't have many dance clubs anymore.
you could do
There
it.
used to be a lot of dance clubs in this town.
Really?
Guitars and Cadillacs.
That's the one
Yeah,
I was thinking of.
Guitars
G's
and
and C's. You had
Cadillacs.
Where was
Nico. You had Club Patrick.
Oh, Club Nico.
You had
Wow.
the Roxbury. You had the Max and
Yeah.
the Run. Like you had Capitol. There used to be a ton.
You're speaking Portuguese to me. a couple of these places probably been closed before I moved back here. So
Oh,
Probably,
yeah.
now Guitars and Cadillacs? That was my go-to spot in Lincoln.
114th and Dodge.
Yeah, I was like Kobe in the NBA Finals, and my shooting percentage there.
Kobe.
Okay,
It was at 56-0.
Do you remember what was the you remember Grisani's in Omaha?
Oh, yeah.
114th Dodge? It was right by Grisani's.
Yeah, it was.
Right
I
by
bet
there.
Guitars and Cadillacs was huge in this town.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they had Sunday, or that was Thursday night, and then Sunday was minor night.
Yeah,
Thursday
was 18 and over. Sunday was
Yep.
all ages.
Yep.
So
and they didn't play
starting-
country on Sunday.
Starting when I turned 16, man, every Sunday night we went to
Oh,
Guitars and
I had the
Cadillacs.
big old
the
M
huge-
on the
yep.
yep, and then you try to wash it off, but the bartenders were usually pretty good about like, yeah, I can still see the red that
Thursday
you
nights.
really got that on.
Thursday nights was a mix of country and dance music, and they also had a wet T-shirt contest.
They
Hello.
did, yes, they did.
Whoa,
There
they
was
did
a
not
lot-
have that in Lincoln.
There was
They
also
saved that for the Grove.
if any one of you guys remember this one, I will be very impressed. It was a little hidden gem, and I say hidden gem tongue in cheek, but right by the Spaghetti Works in Ralston. It was in that little strip
Sports
mall.
bar called Brewski's.
Not Brewski. It was right next. So it would have been right. It would have been to the right of that Brewski's.
Yep.
It was first called the Players Bar. Then they called it Chrome.
Yep,
You know it?
I know it.
Oh,
I've been there.
We used to go there. They also had a wet T-shirt contest on Thursday.
One of my
What
favorite.
the heck was going
one of
on
my-
in Omaha?
A lot
I
of
saw
wet
one of
T-shirt
my
contests.
favorite Omaha bands at Chrome
Which one?
and Chondo.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
But Chrome, yeah, Chrome.
yeah,
it was
Hector and
Players.
Chondo still playing music around, I
Oh.
think, but his like sort of. I don't know. It was like flamenco Hispanic punk band, which and Chondo. They were amazing. I
Wow.
love that band.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Good for so you, man. I thought I might have stumped you.
No, I went
was
to
a-
Chrome a few times.
That's
What
a
are you
hidden gem.
guys? I
It's a
would
hidden
not have,
gem.
you know, because I know you as older. I would not have looked at you guys and said you're clubbers.
Oh, big time club
Oh,
guy. I was a
used
huge
to club.
dance club guy.
We go down to what was the one over by Mangelson's, the country bar.
Oh,
Rednecks.
Rednecks,
Yeah.
yes.
Used to go there all
on
the time.
84th.
In that plaza right next to Mangelson's.
Yep.
And
In
that-
the corner.
fish in a barrel, Gary.
Oh, it
Right
was. It was.
Right next to Tom Kelly's
if you-
Bowling Pro Shop.
If you had a drought, call up the boys.
Slump Buster. We're going to
Yeah.
Rednecks.
We're going to Rednecks, boys.
And then I've always said
Choo-choo.
Eli's
Trains on the
in-
tracks.
in Rockbrook Village, Eli's. That was another one that Thursday nights was the place. And if you didn't walk out there with a number or a nice looking lady at your side, that was on you. You didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, man. I was all over that scene. And now, like, I think the Max is still open downtown. That might be it.
I think so.
I don't know of
Well, that was
another.
back in the day
wrong
that
person.
I didn't mind standing in lines either,
Yeah.
as long as it was within reason. Now, if I even see a line in the lobby part of it where there's people sitting on the chairs that are provided as you wait, I'm good. Like, yeah, I'm out.
Oh,
Longer than
If you
30
ask
minutes,
Gary, those
I'm out.
people were paid to stand in line to make it look
It's
busy.
actually a pretty good idea, though.
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's like Olive Garden. People are paid to sit outside of Olive Garden, so when you drive by, you think it's busy.
Yep.
and It
Yeah.
must be
I
really
knew
good.
it.
Yeah.
You took the bait. I knew I was going to get you to go
See,
there.
not against Olive Garden because Olive Garden hits home like once a year.
It does.
But there are certain places, like there are clubs that they will have stand-ins where you're outside, so it must be busy.
Mhm.
But I made a personal decision, really a life decision, when I got my first real job, that I would never ever again stand in line to get into a bar.
Yeah.
And also not pay a cover unless it was for a band or a sporting event.
Those are solid policies, I think.
It's helped me because I have not stood in line to get into a
I'm
bar.
always wondering if when I was standing in line at a place like Guitars and Cadillacs, everybody in line actually made it in, or were they paid just to stand there?
I mean,
thinking.
you don't even think
Oh,
twice.
we got there
like
early.
When you're
We never stood in line.
21 and you're in a college town and it's like 30 degrees outside
Yeah.
and you didn't wear a coat,
well, yeah,
you
'cause-
wore a long sleeve shirt and jeans,
Mhm.
that, it's going to be about a 15-minute wait. You're like, no problem.
Yeah.
Now I'd be like, you're crazy. I'll go somewhere else.
absolutely. So
I'll
that's
go
why,
back home.
That's why I think the
Yeah.
Olive Garden thing would backfire, because then you get to a certain age, you're like, lines, nope, not doing that. But if you're younger, yeah, there's the whole idea of, well, could all these people be wrong? They're all waiting for a great thing. I might as well be a part
The
of
answer is yes, they could all be
it. Yeah.
wrong.
Especially when you're at an Olive Garden. Because I do think Olive Garden's fine, but there's also some better options that you probably don't have to wait.
But man, Olive Garden falls into the category as at least once a year, and it always delivers. I don't know. I could have it deliver like 6-7 times
Man,
a year,
you get
but
so
one
much
time a
food.
year.
Just go to Biaggi's.
Yeah,
honestly.
I do like Biaggi's. But you do get a lot of food at Olive Garden. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
A lot of food for
One
very
time a
little.
year. One
Mount.
time a year. Speaking of food, we got to have a discussion here. We might have to have a list.
Ooh.
Uh,
This season.
what is the most wild card fast food place in Omaha? And when I say that,
Yeah, what's wild card?
had a little went to Popeyes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So Popeyes is very polarizing on this radio station.
It is.
The one right down the street here on Dodge is very popular. Let's just say I did not get everything that I had ordered, but then I got stuff that I didn't order. So I thought as I was sifting through the order,
So it's a push.
trying to figure out, okay, what do I keep and what do I say, hey, I didn't get?
Yeah.
That Popeyes, because this is not the first time it's happened, might be the most wild card fast food place. You're not really sure what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a good one.
And it wasn't, and why I put them in the power spot of number one is because it wasn't what I didn't get.
Yeah.
There were additional things that I didn't order that were in my bag.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So I think the last time I went there, same thing happened to us because it was during Lenten. So they have a good what is it? Their Cajun fish sandwich. It's really good, and I don't think what we ordered for Reese came, but we got someone else's order too. And we wanted, like, the shrimp they give you is actually kind of a small box, but there was another thing of shrimp. So I'm like, well, we're keeping that shrimp too. But then I asked for, Reese's
Once
food
they've
too.
given it to you, they can't take it back.
No,
anyway.
it's like, you're not going to take it back. It's weird. So there is the Amigos on 150 or 150th and Maple, 144th area.
Big
that
flag.
Amigos, same thing. There have been times I haven't gotten things, but I got 2 extra burritos or something, and I didn't know what kind of burrito it was, but so it's kind of exciting. And then so you make the decision of, do I go back, the thing that they forgot, do I go back and ask for it, or the things that they gave me, does it make up for that I don't need to? And in the Amigos case, I didn't need to go back.
I'll tell you what,
because they were like 2 fully loaded burritos. I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
I'm not biting into a surprise burrito. That's not happening.
That's
not a thing that's going to happen.
I had no problem.
No
doing it.
chance.
I totally did.
No way.
I had zero
I
problem
am
with it.
not doing that.
I think they just forgot one of the
You're
the
playing
soft shell
burrito
tacos.
roulette out here?
I was.
Not a thing.
Hey,
No.
I know what the menu is. I know what the absolute number
possibilities
one
are.
and the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, it outweighed the fact that I didn't get my soft taco.
No way. Burrito roulette. No, thank you.
Now there's certain places I would
I'll
not
tell
play
you,
burrito roulette. Make one of them.
We've had it happen at the Domino's on 156th and Maple a couple of times where put in
pizza.
an order. Yeah, I know, but I'll go in there. Like the first time it happened, I went in, I just go pick up the pizza, go home. I get home, open it up. It's like, that's not the one I ordered.
But
This
like,
is supposed to be half pepperoni, half cheese.
But then you look at it,
There's
that
like
looks kinda
mushrooms
good.
and onions and like all these things. I was like, that's not the one. That's not the one, guys. And it's got my receipt in there that clearly says the thing that I ordered. And it's like, you guys, you failed badly on. So now every time we order from that place, I go in and pick it up and I open the box in the store. Like, you guys, no, this isn't it, guys. Not the one. And it's happened 3 or 4 times in the past year where it's like they have given me the wrong box.
That's not
of
like
pizza.
them. In fact, they'll give you $3 for paying their delivery person $3. There's a lot of things at Domino's that makes 0 sense to me.
That's
Like,
right.
guys, just make pizza already.
Yeah.
Just deliver it, and you don't need to be doing this stuff. You don't need to have the car delivered it for it. Like, just make pizza.
You don't want
What
the
if the
drone?
car
Yeah, the drone.
was the oven?
Yes, exactly.
What if it cooked on the way to your house?
It's like, whoa, cool. Can
What
I
if
just
the
have
pizza was edible?
Exactly.
I thought that was
you.
pretty cool when they first introduced it.
It
I'd like to see
looks
that in my
great on the
neighborhood.
commercial, and I'm like, wow,
But
this looks
at some
great.
point, you're just overthinking the
Yeah.
whole pizza business, man.
The
Come on.
19-year-old driving into my car
Yeah.
doesn't have the same, I guess, panache as the television commercial.
Yeah.
I guess we don't get the drone in Omaha.
Not yet.
No.
The drone
No.
that was going to deliver your pizza.
Yeah, not yet.
It sounds like a terrible idea.
It really does.
Mhm.
I can imagine a lot of scenarios where something bad happens.
A lot of variables.
and I don't get my pizza.
Steve says clearly you four have never been or have not been to a Burger King recently in Omaha.
I haven't. I have not.
You have no idea what
And-
you're going to get.
And would never.
Burger King's a thing of the past.
There's,
Yeah.
there's very few things that I'll come on the radio and say I
Truth
would,
be told,
I would
I have
never
not.
go there. I would never go. If you see me at a Burger King, something terrible has happened.
It's just the Burger King sign. You drive by it, and it's nostalgia now. It's just all it is.
I remember the Burger King Kids Club.
Remember when I used to eat Burger King?
I remember when Burger King had hot dogs for a little bit.
Ugh.
I remember when the Burger Kings here in this town at least looked like they were upkept.
That's
Bingo.
true.
Yeah.
That's
a problem.
Run down. Like you go like to a McDonald's nowadays, and they have
Oh.
or like a Chick-fil-A, and they have the the kids section.
Yeah, and they're like
Where-
coffee houses too. Where
They
you
got
can
like,
sit
oh my
down and
God,
do work.
do they have a water slide inside of the McDonald's?
Right. They're going one direction. Burger King is, I mean, you can't even, the entire lights aren't on. Some letters are falling off of the building and stuff. That's probably subconsciously one of the reasons I haven't gone. So it doesn't shock me that you probably are going to get something different every time.
My tetanus shot isn't up to date. I cannot go to Burger King today.
Nice.
Healthcare is too expensive. No Burger King. Yeah, I think I've been out on McDonald's for a long time. I probably haven't eaten at McDonald's 15 years.
Wow.
Whoa.
We'll get the occasional McGriddle on a road trip.
I don't do McDonald's. I'm out on that. And Burger King. I was still eating Burger King up to probably 5-6 years ago every once in a while, but now it's like, no, I'm not doing that. It's not any good.
Whopper.
Pass.
Yeah,
God.
love the commercials.
When's
for
the last
Burger
time I
King.
had a Whopper? I bet I'm closing in on about 20 years.
Hey, they were, remember they were going to overtake McDonald's and they brought out the King and the King
Yeah.
was everywhere.
Yeah.
He showed up, wasn't he in a Bud Crawford fight? I think he like walked to the ring with Bud
He
Crawford.
let him out. No, that was Eminem.
Amazing.
No, like the King.
Common misconception.
The King
all the
man-
time.
get it.
They had the King everywhere. He'd
Mhm.
show up at sporting events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he'd be sitting next to the Marlins man behind home plate.
College
Mhm.
football. Keith Jackson. This game brought to you by Burger King. When you have it your way, just like that was college football. And Burger King was a huge sponsor. Now it's like, hey, we still exist. Yeah, the King is not nearly as seen as he used to be.
I'm just
The reason?
kind of like got
Are
out
they
of
on
the
hard times?
fast food. I just like I'll get a Raising Cane's every now and then, but not very often.
You like chicken?
I like chicken.
Is Burger King like a girl at Rednecks?
Oh my God.
You can get it, but you're not telling anybody.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
You might as well not do the show
that
anymore today
might-
because I don't know you can get any better than
That
that.
might be the best analogy I've
All
heard.
right, that's the Connor App Show. We'll see you guys.
It's time for unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a great.
That was really good.
That poll question may break the internet.
It might.
The fact that Rednecks was brought up once just out of random clubs and then you went there.
So why did
amazing.
why did this place leave? What happened to Rednecks?
I don't. It might still be there.
I
I don't
think
know.
it's still
I
there.
think it might be there.
I think it's still
yeah,
there.
it might be. It's tucked away in a little corner, so you know where Mangle
It's-
sits. If you're
its
heading,
peak
if you'd be heading-
popularity was like 0809.
yes, very much so.
Oh, permanently closed.
Is
Yeah.
it? Oh,
Sad.
I wonder when it closed.
Around the time your boy got out of the Marines and moved back to Omaha, it was very popular.
Do they still have what was the bakery that was right there too? That also did breakfast. Was it a Wheatfields? Was there a Wheatfields there too?
No, that's the
The
Farmhouse
Farmhouse.
Cafe.
Oh, Farmhouse.
still
Thank
there.
you. Farmhouse is still
Yeah.
there. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was Farmhouse, Mangelson's, and it was on the other side.
But there was a Denny's in that parking lot
Yeah,
too,
oh,
at,
yeah.
at the far end, right by the
Oh,
interstate,
we've been
which
we've
was like
talked-
a
right.
very
Oh,
popular place
that
to
is-
go at 2 a.m. after Redneck.
It was.
No. Why have you not gone back? So it shut down for a bit
It's very fancy looking.
because that's an interesting little stretch there. I spent a lot of time on 84th.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the Motel 6 that is right behind it.
Yep.
Then you have the sex shop that is right next to Denny's.
Yep.
So Denny's shut down for a little bit. One, because I think they only had the cook and one person that was working. They have modernized that Denny's. They cleaned it up.
Yeah, it
they
looks
changed
nice.
the
They
look
did
of
a
it.
Village Inn.
Yeah,
It looks really nice
kind
now.
of farmhouse looking now. Yep, not
Hmm.
farmhouse cafe, but the farmhouse style.
Had a lot of
Yeah.
Think about
2:30.
it.
Had a lot
Think
of
about it.
2:30 breakfasts
You-
in that
you-
Denny's.
Mhm.
Yeah, me too.
You could be making a lot of money. The people that drive overnight and they're coming on 80.
Yeah.
You see a Denny's off of an easy place to get
Yeah.
on and off the interstate. Boom, that Denny's should be making lots of buco cash.
That Rednecks probably did a lot of business for Denny's, but also there's a Taco Bell on the other side.
Oh, dude.
that
yeah.
Taco
Yes.
Bell that's on right across the
wasn't
street.
there a movie theater right there too?
Yeah.
A long
Um,
time ago.
Yeah, it used to be.
Yep.
That's a place where you can go shoot guns.
Then they had the Red Eye Tavern that was also kind of nearby. But yeah,
Still there?
Rednecks
Different
was. Oh man, Rednecks.
Yes, sir. That was a time. That
I
was
mean,
a time
they
in my
do-
life.
They do say life revolves around 84th and Center in Omaha.
I mean, it really does.
Who?
I don't know
Who
who
are
says.
they?
I don't know
Who
who
are they?
says that, but
Same people that go to Burger King.
it's not wrong.
The Canfields Plaza. Do you guys remember Canfields?
Yeah,
Your rugged outdoor superstore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
and Center
it was
is
a
at Canfield
It was
Plaza.
a huge deal when they were
Yeah.
closing.
It's like a huge camping store.
I
Well,
believe
now
we
they're
got a
good with it.
tent. We got like a canvas
Now I think it's Play It Against Sports.
Play It Against Sports, yeah.
Played Against Sports and Goodwill right there.
That's where we got
Yeah.
Reese's skates. That Play It Against Sports, by the way, that ain't your grandfather's Play It Against Sports. It's got some nice stuff there.
yeah?
It does.
I've
Yeah,
been
you
in
walk
there
wait a
to
minute.
look for golf clubs a few
Oh,
times.
I bet you're
yeah.
gonna find some stuff.
I bought my 58th degree wedge out of that Play It Against Sports.
I just imagine when I go to a Play It Against Sports, there's anything I touch is just dust is going to come off of it.
Yeah.
No, not that one. That
No.
one's pretty nice.
Hey, some people, when they needed some money, donated plasma. I went and found golf balls on a golf course and took them to the Played Against Sports in Lincoln.
How'd you do? What was the haul?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. They kind of looked over the golf balls that I was turning in that I wanted money for. I'm like, I could have used, if I would have known, I could have used like, hey, I go to Sal's and, Sal's they give me a lot more money. But I decided to come to Play It Against Sports first. But the guy was like looking at every golf ball. And I'm like,
Very choosy.
he's like,
Really?
this one seems to be out of a crick. And I'm
Like,
like,
well,
well,
yeah.
okay.
The hell do you care?
Yeah. I go, mark it up. Who cares?
I'm
Yeah.
very bad.
Is anybody going to actually pay for if it was not in it?
You don't understand. I need to pay a bill. I need $35.
Yeah.
Just buy the damn
He
golf
said,
balls from me.
he said, do you have anything other than top flights in here?
You seem to have quite the collection of golf balls here.
This is a Max Fly from 1979.
We're out on Max.
I was
Flies
trying
right
to sell him a Kirkland ball before Kirkland existed.
now. Did you say? Did you know these came from Titleist as well? Titleist and Kirkland.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Good
I got
stuff.
called out the other day. I was playing golf and a Kirkland ball slipped into my rotation. And
It just happened to.
some jabroni I was playing with goes, "Who's got the Kirkland? Who's got the Kirkland?"
No, I have no shame, man.
Hey Gary, what are you hitting? I got a ball over here. What is it? Like, oh, what's the ball? You tell me what you're hitting. That's like,
Yep.
all right.
In a typical round of golf,
it's a Wilson.
in a typical round of golf, I will lose 3 and find 7. I'm coming out on, and I'll play those balls that I found
Oh
too.
God,
I don't care
do
what
it all
they
the
are.
time.
Yeah, don't apologize.
I'm not
Nope.
good enough to worry about what the name brand
Yeah.
on the golf ball I'm hitting into the creek is.
I'll get a lot of used golf balls. LostGolfballs.com is one of my friends. Yeah, I like them a lot.
What?
Oh yeah, it's
LostGolfballs.com.
you go there and you can get either a thing of 48 or 96 golf balls. You can get Pro V1s for dirt cheap. And it even tells you, says like mint condition, then there's great, and then there's good.
Yeah.
I like to go with a good.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not good enough to get the mint
Because I'm
used
giving
golf
it
balls.
back at some point.
Absolutely.
Pristine mint, refinished, no logo.
Oh yeah. It's got,
Near
so it's got
mint, good.
I love the no logo one. So it doesn't have like a bank logo or a business logo
okay,
from something.
okay.
So you don't.
They buffed that off or something.
Apparently that's a thing. I don't care if there's a bank logo or if there's any. I'm at John's Scramble. Cool.
That's
that
a
could be on there.
collector's item.
Yeah. It's like, oh, what are you hitting? I'm hitting a Titleist. Oh, it's got that weird sun logo on it. Oh,
I'm hitting the Strixon with the Centrist Federal Credit Union logo on
yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, no, it's a nice little thing if you want to stock up on golf balls.
You bank at Centrist? No, not at all.
I'm a big used golf ball fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I see you guys are talking to USC today.
We are.
That's right.
Are you going to
Yeah.
ask them who tried to hire Tony White as the defensive coordinator?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Should we start something?
Well,
Well,
Tony White says he was
Don't
offered the
start, none won't
defensive
be none.
coordinator job at USC, but he never talked to Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley happens to be the head coach.
People forget.
Yeah. So
They had a booster.
who offered the defensive coordinator job to Tony White?
Sean, the lead booster, did.
Just a random guy that called from Los Angeles.
Maybe it was one of those, like you get those text messages like, hey, would you be interested in a remote position with this company? Maybe Tony White got one of those. Like,
Maybe
hey, would you be
not.
interested in a remote defensive coordinator position with the University of Southern
I thought
California?
I told you you can block those.
Great benefits and flexibility.
Some of them sneak through though. They beat the filter sometimes.
Oh, I started getting them on my work email,
especially this time of year.
And they weren't even in the what do we call that thing? The proof point essentials of you're like, oh, I don't even need to look at this.
I
This is gonna be able to go through.
I think I have my phone trained pretty well because I feel like you would say this is spam and it'll like find other text messages like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's trained pretty well. I don't get many of them, but I still do get like a few that slip through. Like I got one yesterday that was from a number that had sent me one previously. Hey, this is Cheryl from Outsource One. And then like that was like 3 months ago. And then yesterday,
Oh, they're
hi,
recycling.
this is Hamed from Outsource 2.
Hamed.
It's like, wait, you guys have the same number. That's funny. That's very weird.
What happened to Cheryl?
That should be your response.
Yeah.
Wait.
I have this saved under Cheryl. What'd you do to Cheryl?
We did not win a medal in the triathlon.
Sad.
Damn it. How's everybody doing in the poop water?
One guy literally got out of it, and we're going to talk about it on Odd News today. He got out, and he just lost his breakfast or lunch everywhere, like immediately.
Telling you, people say that
it's a grueling race. It has nothing to do with the sun.
Simpsons or the Seinfeld was ahead of its time.
Yeah,
we should have learned from Kramer in the Hudson.
We're in the Hudson.
Funked up my mattress.
I said this to Nick at the beginning of the show. Rivers are to be looked at or walked by. They're not to be swimming in. Like we don't say.
What's your position on boats? On
that's
like
acceptable.
Recreation boats,
boating.
fine.
Yeah.
But you don't ever. When was the last time you said to your buddies, "Hey, let's go down to the Missouri and I think there's a way we could get in right there by the luminarium."
Not swimming in the Missouri.
I don't know why. Just like you guys went over and swim in the river, which I don't think I've ever heard.
No,
sorry.
Say, hey, you know what? We can. There's access right there by the casino. We could just walk into the Missouri and go swimming.
I swam in the Republican River all the time as a kid. Like that's where I grew up. We swam in that river. That's where I learned how to swim. Basically, it was in the Republican River.
Maybe it's a little bit different in smaller towns.
Yeah, much smaller. There's plenty of livestock runoff in that river. However,
I'll explain some things.
I was always fearful. Like my parents did a good job of putting the fear of God in if I swam in a river because they always talked about the undertow and the current and said, "Oh, you don't want to be messing with a river because all of a sudden that thing could pick up and we might lose you forever." That scared me. That stuck with me, so I never did.
Yeah, you don't ever like when you're sitting there at Surfside. You don't like see people swimming by, waving as they're doing the breaststroke.
No, not doing that.
If you see humans
Surfside
swimming by,
or
they're
swimming.
usually not moving.
Yeah.
Did you say Surfside or swimming? You're not doing that.
Swimming in the river in the Missouri.
Okay.
No, not doing it.
Oh, Surfside. Yeah, come on.
You got to go Surfside.
Yeah, you might see a body in the river. It's just probably not swimming. It's just there.
It's doing the
Too
dead
soon.
man
Yeah,
float.
Too soon. It was a couple of months ago.
Oh,
yeah, too soon.
Yeah, I lost track.
We went out to the aquatic center at Mahoney Park yesterday. With the fam, did a whole spent the afternoon out there.
It's nice.
And like you get a little older, you're like, I'm not looking so good. I'm getting a little fat for this, right? Like I got to take my shirt off in public. Like this is going to be a thing. I got there and it's like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm not that fat. I'm all right. I'm good.
You walked away from
I'm popping the tarp off, baby. Let's go.
You're like, I bet all the ladies are looking at me right now.
Yep.
They're looking at the rest of the scene.
I'm all right. I'm doing just fine.
Looks good.
Good to know.
I'm okay.
All right. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, boys,
go to the aquatic center.
Yeah. You want to feel better about yourself.
All right. That's a
good thing. Hey,
great promotion for Mahoney Park.
On your way to outdoor practice.
They got new water slides out there. They got some big.
Hey, do they still have the pedal boats? The pedal boats.
That's Platte River State Park.
No, Mahoney had pedal boats too.
Did they?
Yeah.
I've always done the paddle boats at
not
Platte
paddle,
River.
pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pedal. We did a lot of pedal boating at Mahoney. It's a good time. But I feel like that's not a big thing anymore. I don't think even young kids probably know about pedal boats.
Mine does.
Good.
We've done it. We do it. See, Platte River State Park is where we've done it.
Okay. Yeah.
Have a good show.
It's going to be fun. Thanks, guys.
It will be. The crossover is brought to you by Every Little Concrete Repair in Omaha at everylittleconcrete.com. John and Josh coming up next.
It's the Connor Happer Show. Are we sure we want to do this?
Could you, make an announcement that we're ready?
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620, The Zone.
It is the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. I am not Connor Happer. My name is Jon Schriner, the producer of this fine radio program. Well, we hope it's fine. It's Josh Odson. Hello, Josh.
Hello. How we doing, John?
I'm doing well. We got a loaded show today. You set us up for success here on this
Packed
Wednesday.
it tight.
Yeah, you did. What do we have for you on this show? I told you last time I was in, terrible show planned. We're going to stick with that theme. Bad show today. We are going to talk to Mitch Sherman at 11 of The Athletic. He's got some things. Wrote an interesting article about Dylan Raiola. I know everyone's written an interesting article about Dylan Raiola. This one's a little different. We'll talk to Mitch about it. We've got something I wanted to do in my time here filling in while Connor's away. Let's talk about your favorite NFL team and how they're doing at training camp, right? Who are the teams around here that people like? Well, the first one we're going to get to today is the Green Bay Packers, and former Omaha resident Ellie French is going to talk to us about what's happening in camp with the Packers. We got an odd news. It's also Tweet Bag Wednesday, and I put this out on Twitter. I want to make this the most wide-ranging, inclusive tweet bag of all time. Get your questions in on the tweet bag. If you ask it, I'm going to answer it. It's the most inventive segment in radio, the tweet bag. Nobody does this. We're doing that today. Robin Washut will come in at 12:30 from Husker Online. And then we've got the summer school series. It's USC today. We've got Scott Wolf from Inside USC. And then we got polls and what to watch coming up as we close the show at 1:45 before the boys from Unsportsmanlike Conduct get in. But to start things off today, did you guys see the new Chasing 3 episode 5? Did you watch this?
I have not. I'm now 5 episodes behind. I'll get to it.
So this one was focused on the June summer workouts. And as far as they have sort of the football side of things, and they do the personal side of things. That's the way this documentary is. It's like they show you some football stuff, they show you some personal stories. The football stuff in this one is just about the least interesting.
Usually is.
The summer workouts are not terribly compelling. We're watching guys lift heavy things. They run up and down some steps. It's not terribly informative. But some of the other stuff, actually, I thought in this one was pretty interesting. There was some compelling stuff on the human side of it. And I think throughout this whole thing, and to some degree in the early episodes, but especially in this one, I think we get to see a different side of Matt Rule than we normally get to see when he's at the podium. Because he always comes off as this very polished, super talented public speaker with a great message and a ton of consistency, always has the answer. And in this episode, you get the sense that this guy, he's not messing around. He's not playing games here. There's a part in this episode where they're doing the first time that they're doing they're running the stairs of the stadium. And it's very difficult. And they're just about done. And the seniors are kind of standing in the center of the field, kind of yelling at some of the guys who are not finished yet. Like, hey, come on, guys, just keep it up. Let's go. Keep going. And Matt Rule walks out there and he's like, hey, you seniors, you see that guy walking? You're letting it happen. Go run it again. And he makes the seniors run the whole thing again. Puts them on blast. And and they have to do the whole crazy running the stairs workout over again. And it's like, okay,
might create some division later on.
That's a little different side of Matt Rule than we're used to seeing. And then at the end, in the fifth one, in the fifth workout, He has the coaches and himself run the stairs.
Oh, I
They're
wouldn't ask
all
you to do
doing
anything
it.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
do myself.
He's out there doing it. And so I just feel like there's another side of Matt Rule that we don't often see. Like we see him as this great leader and CEO and great speaker. But there's an intensity behind the scenes to that guy too. He's not joking around. Like you are not just going to be able to show up and fake it till you make it. Like he's got a serious face on. One of the other things that stood out was just the messaging from Matt Rule all the way down to the strength and conditioning coach. The messaging is the same. We are not here to lose. And you heard Isaac Gifford echo the same thing in this episode as well. This is not like it hasn't been good enough. You have to be better. And you have to do the little things to make yourself better. And that to me is so refreshing to hear those things. Like, so we normally don't get access to this kind of stuff. We always wanted to know, oh, what's happening behind the scenes. We don't get to, there's a little peek behind the curtain here. And to see the way that they're presenting the season and the workouts and just the importance of this game, Nebraska football plays, to the people of the state of Nebraska. The way they present all that is so cool to see. And I think you'd be forgiven entirely for being not even just a little bit, but totally jaded about Nebraska football over the last decade. Because if you're a fan of this program and you've given all of your attention and the money that you spend on it to get nothing back. I mean, essentially, you've got nothing.
You're right. I'd love to sit here and argue. No, I've gotten.
I mean, they've given you a lot of disappointment, and that's about it. So to see that they understand that and that they get it, and to try to make the players get it is really cool. I like it. And it again, I say it all the time. Like Matt Rule's made me a believer in whatever product he's selling. I'm buying it. And these little peeks behind the curtain only go in service of that. And the last thing I'll say about this Chasing 35th episode, Isaac Gifford, to use one of the Gen Z phrases, is about that life.
Oh.
This is another guy who's not playing around. He has no time for anything but your best. And makes that very clear. And he talked about his older brother, whose senior year was Scott Frost's first year. And he said he felt like his brother and some of the seniors that year laid a good foundation for the program, but then they were gone after that. And he said it all falls to fill in the blank. And he said part of his decision to come back for year 5 was he saw what happened when his brother left after the first year of a new coaching staff, after laying that foundation. And he was not going to allow that to happen. He was going to be here the next year to make sure that the foundation was solid and that it got continued. That's a guy that cares about the program. That's a guy that loves Nebraska football. That's a guy that was a fan before he became a player. And it's that type of player-led internal motivation that is going to turn the thing around for Nebraska. The extrinsic motivation is great. The intrinsic is what changes things. And Isaac Gifford is that internal piece, I think, that it's got the engine humming. It certainly seems like it. And he talked about, the workouts, and he says, like, yeah, it sucks. It's hard. I don't like it. But he said, you're not supposed to like it. It's not supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be hard because then you become hard to beat. And that's a guy I want on my team. Honestly, like that's a guy I want to watch play football. So the workout stuff, not terribly interesting. Some of the other things that you got to see behind the scenes with Matt Rule and with Isaac Gifford. And then Jamarcus Buford stuff is really cool too, to hear him talk about his injuries and going through those knee injuries 2 times and still being able to come back and what that's done for him. Also very good. So if you're interested in that stuff, the episode 5 of Chasing 3 is out. And
you would recommend this series?
Yeah, it's a good series.
Okay.
I've enjoyed watching it. You get some things that you don't normally get.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this one least interesting on the workout front, but the human stuff is really good. Okay. We're coming back, and something happened in the NFL. A new change could be coming to the way we officiate the game of football.
That's scary to me, John.
I know. We'll find out if you like it. It's Connor Happer Show, 1620 The Zone.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
It is the Connor Happer Show. I am not Connor Happer. Jon Schriner filling in today, along with Josh Hudson. Got a stacked show. We got Mitch Sherman coming up in just a little bit. First couple things. Just saw this on the old Twitter machine. Deshaun Foster, first day of camp for UCLA. You remember his press conference at Big Ten Media Days? How could you forget?
I do remember it. Yes.
He's wearing a shirt that has the outline of the state of California and says, "We're in LA." I love it.
I do have to give him points. For
Yeah,
that.
I mean, hey, you said something dumb, make a T-shirt out of it.
Lean
That's
into
fun.
it. Yeah.
I like that. That to be able to make fun of yourself is cool. I like that. It's good. But I teased before the break something coming. Changes in the way that the NFL football game is to be officiated. This story from ESPN. The opening line, Josh. The NFL is moving closer to replacing the chain gang with technology.
Oh.
So no longer will you have the portly middle-aged crew of men who just wanted to be on the sidelines. So they became chain operators, trotting out to the middle of the field to carry the sticks to measure for a first down. This will be a relic of the old game. Back in my day, we had a physical chain that we drug out on the field. No, this technology from Sony is called a Hawkeye. And what it does, they install extra cameras that tracks the player and the ball. Much like you see, I would imagine, in the European soccer leagues where they do the virtual representation of whether it was onside or offside, where they have the digital player and was he ahead, was he not? They're going to do this with football. And where the ball is in relation to where the player was down, they're going to use extra cameras. They're going to get a digital picture of whether or not it was the ball made the line to gain or didn't. And then the official will immediately in his ear get an indication of whether it's a first down or not. So there will be no need to stop the game, drag the chains out, have the measurement, get the chains back, and
Stick
restart
that little
play.
card in there.
Yeah, put the index card between the ball. So the word from the NFL is that they're talking about saving around 40 seconds each time that they would need to drag the chains out. How many times did they drag the chains in a game? It seems like it's gotten less and less over the years.
They hardly measure anything anymore.
No, they just make a judgment call from the ref stands over the ball. He's like, nope, not first down.
And
it's third.
It's got to be like the fourth quarter of a close game.
And it has to be extremely close to whether or not it's a first down. So let's say they drag the chains 3 times in a game, right? What are we talking about? A minute and a half we're saving in time? But it's also more accurate because this system can measure down to less than half of an inch. Like where the chains are placed on the sidelines, I know they put that little marker on the chain to indicate which link is on the largest yard line, right? Like if we're going from the 35 to the 45, they'll put the little marker at the 40, right? That's say right. That when you pull it out, this has to be on the 40. Mm-hmm. But that, I think that can fluctuate back and forth. Was it on the inside of the line? Was it on the outside of the line? Was it in the middle? So it's not necessarily tremendously accurate.
Did a player dive across it and move it?
But this digital system is going to measure it down to the half inch. And beyond the new technology for the line to gain measurement, Sony's also doing enhanced sideline photography and broadcast cameras for the production. So it's this big partnership with Sony. This is one of the things that's coming out of it is the new Hawkeye tracking service to determine whether or not it was a first down. So if you love the chain gang, if the chain gang is why you watched football, I'm sorry to tell you, you're just going to have to watch old games on repeat. NFL Network will have you covered. I don't know if those replays are going to show the chain gang coming out, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be a thing of the past. And look, I'm all for it. In this case, I think this is good technology that's going to make the game better. I was initially a proponent of the digital offsides in soccer, but I think sometimes we get into the technicalities of the rule rather than the spirit of the rule. And when a guy's fingernail is beyond the last defender and he's called offside, it's like, well, that's not what we meant by offside. Like, that's not what we meant. Right? His hand, because he was running or he was pointing where he wanted the ball, that made him offside. That's not really what we mean. That's not the spirit of the rule. And I think if you're trying to digitally represent something like holding, pass interference, those are subjective things. And let's just keep it with the spirit of the rule rather than getting way deep into the technicalities. I think the game is officiated fairly well in most instances. There are outliers everywhere, but come on.
If this gets 4 or 5 people off of the sideline, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, there are
There's
too many
just
people on the
so
sideline.
many people.
That is a good point, Josh. I am with you there.
But I mean, there's still got to be a stick, right? There's got to be a visualization.
Yeah, I imagine there will be a visual indication of where the line to gain is, so that you know. But as far as the guys coming out dragging the chains, not a thing. That's going to go away.
I know they've had markers with lasers in them so that there's not an actual chain, but this sounds way more technologically advanced than what I've seen at high school or JUCO football games.
Do you like on the broadcast when they draw all the lines on the field? Like, this is the line of scrimmage. This is the line to gain. This is the target field goal range. This is the red zone.
I don't need the blue line of scrimmage.
Yeah, well, I don't need that either.
I don't. That does nothing for me.
Show it to me if we're deciding whether the quarterback was past that line when he threw the ball. Then you can show me that line.
Show me that on a replay. If it is not the fourth quarter of a close game with under 5 minutes to go, I don't care where his target field goal range is.
Yeah, I agree. Again, we talked about this the other day. We're just like innovating things for the broadcast that we don't really need, like the in-game coach interviews. We don't need this.
Don't need that at all.
But I think the cameras to determine whether the line to gain was made, yeah, good thing. I like it. Let's do that. There you go. There's your breaking NFL news for your Wednesday afternoon. No more chain gang dragging the chains. Chain gang is dead. Long live the chain gang. All right, Mitch Sherman's coming up. We're going to talk to the Athletics college football reporter. He's got some things. He wrote a story about Dylan Raiola footing the bill.
Yeah, they went to the place. Yeah,
we'll ask him about that and some other things. Got Happer Show, 1620 The Zone. Talk about first.
Mitch Sherman, The Athletic.
He can play. And we need people that can play.
And we'll never be royal. Let me live that fantasy.
Back with you here for hour 2.
Mitch Sherman, The Athletic.
It's Mitch
On
Sherman.
the Connor Happer Show.
It's the Connor Happer Show.
On 1620, The Zone.
It's 1620 The Zone.
I like the remix.
Had to do my little DJ Khaled in there. But we are joined now by Mitch Sherman. Mitch, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I'm doing my best Connor Happer impersonation. I'm doing okay.
Can't tell the difference.
Yeah, well, we both have red beards, so who could? The first thing I wanted to get to, Mitch, was your story about Dylan Raiola and him sort of footing the bill, taking some guys out to eat, bringing some guys to Texas to work with his quarterbacks coach and throw some routes and things. This is a new thing in college football. We hear about it in the NFL where a quarterback in the offseason will pay for a trip for his wide receivers or his offensive line. They'll get together, they go somewhere, build camaraderie. But this is like in the era of NIL, this is a new thing for college football.
Yeah, I think even in this NIL era where you've had players with resources now for, basically players getting paid for a couple of years, it's not something I've heard a lot about. So Dylan's kind of a trendsetter in that way. I'm sure it's happened. Everything that happens at Nebraska gets noticed, and that's why we're talking about this with Dylan Raiola. And in addition to the fact that it's unique with him doing this before he started a game, he's a freshman coming in and already taking on the role of what you would expect from the starting quarterback. And that I think is unusual and unique, and probably will be so even in a few years when you've got veterans who do things like this. I think even before NIL, if you had, let's say, returning All-American, returning All-Conference player, somebody who's absolutely the alpha in the program, to see them take their offensive line out to dinner, it's been around. But not so surprising with Raiola, considering his NIL situation, when you also take a look at the fact that he's been around the NFL life for his entire life. We know that his dad, Dominic, played 14 years in the NFL for the Detroit Lions. And as a center, Dominic was always involved in the lives of his quarterbacks. There was a relationship there that was maybe for Dominic even more front and center than what you see with most guys at his position. The quarterbacks for the Lions, whether it was Dan Orlovsky or Drew Stanton, John Kitna, Matthew Stafford, those guys were part of the lives of the Raiola family and part of the lives of Dylan and his brother Dayton. So when they grew up to be quarterbacks, they had role models that were just built in, that were like uncles to them. And these are things that those quarterbacks did in their NFL careers. So this is kind of a natural next step when you take that into account.
Yeah, the other thing that really stuck out to me from your story was just that Dylan Raiola is working with like the elite of the elite when it comes to quarterback trainers, and he has all of the tools to be really good. What struck you about those relationships?
Well, yeah, it's one thing to be able to just throw the ball 70 yards in the air, and then they're not teaching him to do that. He's not. Yeah. He went into his training sessions already blessed with great talent and skill, and then what people outside of the Nebraska program, and Matt Rule, I talked to Matt Rule about this last week in Indianapolis. Like, obviously he's got an offensive coordinator. He's got a quarterbacks coach who has worked in the NFL. So there are coaches out there in the college game who would prefer that their quarterbacks work exclusively with the resources that they have in the program. And Nebraska has a lot in the program. It's not just Glenn Thomas and Marcus Satterfield. There are others like Adam DeMichael in this program he's now on the defensive side, but who have been college quarterbacks. And there's a lot of tools for Dylan to access at Nebraska, but Rule is open and welcoming. He encourages Dylan and other guys in the program to get that outside benefit if it's done at the right time. They don't want Dylan here in the month of August, taking a weekend and going to see his quarterbacks coach because he needs to be focused on everything that's going on in preseason camp. But when spring practice is over, up through these summer months, that's encouraged for him to go and do and see Bobby Strope, and to see Jeff Christensen. And, those two guys both work with Patrick Mahomes. And I think you can tell from seeing Dylan wear number 15 and the way that he plays the game that he models some of what he does, a lot of what he does after Mahomes. Pretty good guy to emulate two consecutive Super Bowls. And I think, physically, Dylan's game matches up pretty well with Mahomes. And that's part of the reason that he's picked him to have as a role model. But yeah, he's working with Bobby Strope in Kansas City. And Strope is Mahomes' longtime trainer. There's some outside the box kind of training things that both quarterbacks have done with Strope. And if you watch the quarterback documentary on Netflix with Mahomes last year, you'll see Bobby Strope doing some of that stuff. And you can believe that Raiola is getting a similar regimen when he goes to work with Strope. And Corey Campbell, Nebraska's strength coach, has been involved in getting information and taking some of that stuff that Dylan does with Bobby and implementing it for other players in Nebraska, or just being on the same page and being aware that Dylan's getting this, so they can then complement that training when he's in Lincoln. And he, same thing with Jeff Christensen, who works more on the mechanics of playing the position. And as you said, Dylan took, I believe, 5 of his receivers for a weekend down in Texas early in the summer. And that's a pretty unique thing.
Among other things, he's also easily Nebraska's best peer recruiter. And we heard this early on about him when he committed to Ohio State. They said he was their top peer recruiting guy. When he was at Georgia, it was the same story. And now at Nebraska, it seems to be like it's starting to pay dividends. What is it about him and his personality that makes him so good as a recruiter?
Yeah, he recruited his sister to be on staff and join the recruiting department. So in addition to Dylan getting on social media and talking to players, and then hosting them on their visits and spreading the word among Nebraska fans, which he did last week with David Sanders when Sanders, the offensive lineman, came to visit. He's pulling his family in, and some of that is the Raiola family. I mean, some of that is just like the connection between the Raiolas and Nebraska began long before Dylan was born, and this is just like the next chapter in that. So while you'll see Dominic on campus when recruits are in town, and he likes to be there to support things and support Nebraska, of course. Donovan is a big part of that. Dylan's uncle, the offensive line coach. Dayton Raiola is a junior this year in Beaufort, Georgia. He's been around at camp and was in town for the barbecue event last weekend. Taylor, I mentioned, she was a volleyball player at TCU, and now she's a part of Nebraska's recruiting department. So it's not just Dylan. Like this is a whole family thing. I think that's part of what makes him a good peer recruiter, because the players that he connects with, if you're Sanders and you're coming in from North Carolina and you hear from Dylan Raiola on social media, well, first of all, he's Dylan Raiola, and that makes him a good peer recruiter because he was David Sanders last year. He was the 5-star kid who was wanted by everybody. So he's got some street cred just with his name and who he is in that star ranking. He carries weight with the recruits. And then if you get to know this guy and you start to learn about him, and you find out that that his family is as deeply involved in the program as it is, that also carries some weight. So he's got all of that working in his favor.
On Saturday, and we're talking to Mitch Sherman of The Athletic, Nebraska's going to give fans a chance to go and watch a practice. You pay $25. It goes to the 1890 NIL effort. And you just said it. Everything Nebraska does gets noticed. Is this about to become a thing now where you can pay to go and watch practice?
Yeah, Nebraska's not the first to do this. I think Ohio State did it last year, and there are some other schools doing it now this year. If you can get a big crowd, it's worth it. If you get, 200 people to come in for the practice, which won't be the case at Nebraska, I think we can all be sure of that.
Yeah.
Then it maybe wasn't worth the effort as an athletic department and a football program to organize the thing and put it together. But Nebraska can make a pretty decent amount of money, or 1890 can make a pretty decent amount of money to benefit Nebraska athletes. Then it's worth doing it. I don't think it's going to be like, hey, they're going to do this once a week or anything like that. Obviously, it's better for the overall functionality of the football team to have practice under wraps, to keep the door closed, and they're not going to. I don't know. I'll be interested to see. Is it first of all, it's only let's see, today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's only the fourth practice of the preseason, so you're not going to be in full pads yet, I don't think, unless they can go Saturday for the first time. Anyway, they're not in mid-season form, and I don't think they're going to give away the house secrets by having one practice out there for everyone to view. But that would become a concern if you started doing this regularly. This is what college football is today, and athletic departments have to get creative. Football programs have to get creative in the way that they generate revenue. And even for Nebraska, which is making $70+ million this year on TV revenue from the Big Ten, and that number is only going to go up in the years to come. They still have to be proactive in finding ways to generate revenue, because starting next year, a big chunk of that, like 20 million plus, is going to go out to the student athletes in revenue share. So you can't get complacent. You have to be working on new ways, be creative, and this is a piece of that. And also larger coaching staffs, which we got the indication of who the new assistant coaches are. And a lot of these guys are sort of assistants to the assistants, and like very positionally specific. And it seems like there's almost no limit on what you can do with your coaching staff now. How does this change things? Well, I mean, you're right. They took the limits off. So somebody somewhere is going to get to the point where they have too many coaches, and you can have too many cooks in the kitchen. And the way that Matt Rule wants to design this at Nebraska is to have two coaches for every position group. So if Donovan Raiola is in charge of the offensive line, look, that's 5 starting positions out of 11 on the offense. That's a lot for one coach to handle. And there's different responsibilities for the centers than there are for the tackles. So it helps. And they've always had a GA, or almost always had a GA, who can coach on the field. The graduate assistant can coach on the field, help with the offensive line. Now they can do that, or they can bring in an assistant offensive line coach. And it can be somebody who's more experienced and is getting paid like a full-time coach to be a second voice, a second teacher for that group. Same thing with the secondary, where Nebraska plays a 3-3-5 defense, and you've got 5 guys playing in the secondary. That's almost half of your defense. Like, it's not necessarily the best setup to have one coach who handles all of those positions. There's a nickel, there's safeties, there's corners. Even the corners among themselves, like the boundary corner is going to have different responsibilities at times than the field corner. So, it's in the secondary, Nebraska's got Rashawn Melvin. Matt Rule announced that last week, that they'd added Melvin to the staff. He was a corner for Rule in Carolina. He's going to help out on special teams. I think special teams is one area where it can really, really make a huge difference. And I talked to Ed Foley about that yesterday, the special teams coordinator. So now there are coaches on the staff who can spend. If you double the size of the staff, you're going to double or triple or quadruple the amount of coaches who are available to give real time to the kicking game aspect. Not just the kicking, but the return aspect too. Ron Brown, who was decades long connected to the Nebraska program and has been a part of the program for Matt Rule in an off-field role, he is going to continue to do that, but he's also going to coach the fullbacks and coach the return specialists. So areas where he's got immense experience over the years in helping Nebraska compete for championships. Now you can add him back into the mix, and that can only be something that helps this team.
Last one, then we'll let you go. Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. So just as soon as we've taken the reins off of the number of coaches, we're about to start putting limits on how many players you can have on your team. Troy Dannon said he's not wringing his hands over roster size. Should we?
Well, at some point, we're going to get the full lowdown on how this is going to look. We know it's 105, but is that a hard cap? Can you go over that in the off season? Can you have injured players that get taken off of that list like you see in the NFL? You have an IR. Is there a taxi squad? Like, there are a lot of details that still need to be hashed out about 105 players. And, you know, if there's a whole group of players that can kind of float around on the outside of that 105 and still be a part of your program, then I don't think it's something where Nebraska needs to look at this and go, wow, this is potentially program changing.
Yeah.
Sure, you're going to have to be more selective in recruiting, and there won't be as many players overall on the team, but you can still manage it and run your program in a similar way if you have that like I said, that kind of supplemental roster. But if it's just 105 and that's it, and you go to 106 players and you're over the limit and you're breaking the rules, no exceptions, that's a game changer for Nebraska. That's something that, and I don't think that's what it's going to be, but we don't know yet because we've just seen the one number and we don't know everything how it's going to factor around that number. So that's, I think, why Troy Dannon and Matt Rule both are saying overreact to something that we don't have full details on yet. And, they'll wait in the months ahead and find out, like all of us, how this is going to look.
So perhaps the walk-on program is saying the reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Well, I mean, you don't have to have walk-ons on that 105 because in addition to expanding reducing the roster size, they're expanding the scholarship limit. So everybody who plays in the program can be on scholarship if Nebraska chooses to divide its money that way.
Right on. Mitch Sherman, The Athletic. Thanks for coming in, Mitch.
Okay. Thanks a lot for having me. Take care.
All right. Mitch Sherman. Think the walk-on program might not be dead yet. I think they're going to do a practice squad or something of that nature. Just guys who can still be at practice and maybe earn a spot later in their career. The hard cap seems a little bit far-fetched.
It means too much, and it's worked too well here to not bend the rules, but to make
every program,
a way.
every program's had their walk-on story.
Sure.
Like Nebraska's is a little, like, we make a big deal about it here, but every program in the country's had the kid who walked on from the hometown and made the team eventually and became a contributor. So,
remember Rudy? He was off sides.
Remember Rudy? He told a bunch of lies. All right. We're going to take a break, come back, quick segment, then we got to get to Ellie French talking Green Bay Packers training camp. What's happening with the Cheeseheads? We'll find out. It's Connor Happer Show, 1620 The Zone. All right, there's news.
We got news, people.
There's news. It's not breaking. It's not like, this is not that important. It's not, we don't need the sounder. But the Big Ten has just announced future sites for the Big Ten basketball tournaments. Now, we have extra teams now in this conference. There are some, we got to think about, locations and how to accommodate everyone, how to appease the masses.
The ghost of John Wooden.
Yep. And look, for the foreseeable future, it's Indianapolis. Men's and women's,
of course.
25, Indianapolis. 26, women's in Indianapolis, men's in Chicago. 27, we start to play weirdo ball a little bit. The 2027 women's basketball tournament in the Big Ten will be played at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Weird?
Little bit, but I like it.
Look, everybody's trying to do something in Vegas.
Sure.
Everybody wants to be in the entertainment capital of the United States in some form or fashion. So 27 women's tournament in Vegas, the 27 men's tournament will be in Indianapolis. And then in 28, the women will play in Detroit at the Pizza Shop, Little Caesars Arena.
Pizza.
And in 28, the men will get their turn out in the desert in Las Vegas at T-Mobile. So there you go. 27 and 28, you're going to have a women's tournament and a men's tournament in the Big Ten in Las Vegas, Nevada. How about that?
All right, people who cover college sports, listen up. We don't have to send out the tweet that says, Las Vegas, Big Ten country? Yes. The whole country is now
it's
Big
all
Ten
of it
country.
Now. It's
everything
all of it.
But Florida they've got.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Get used to it.
The desert Southwest, not quite yet either.
Sure.
But it's coming. I mean, maybe.
You Arizona schools are going to eventually be very unhappy in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And that's when the Big Ten's got you.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. Like, the Big Ten championship football game is probably going to be played in Vegas at some point.
Definitely.
It's going to happen.
I mean, someone at Big Ten Media Days asked Petiti, hey, is the basketball tournament, is there a chance that could be played in Vegas? And he said, gonna have to get back to you on that.
Yep, because we already know. Yeah, I think the Big Ten championship game in football being played in Indianapolis, it's been there for I don't know how many years. Don't ask me.
100.
Yeah, it's been there for a long time since they built the new stadium in Indy.
Too many.
But like Chicago's building a new stadium, and it's probably going to be a dome from all the indications we've heard so far. So, hey, guys, you know where Big Ten headquarters is, right? They're going to play a game in that stadium once it gets built. You have to imagine. They're going to play one in Vegas. They'll at some point they'll probably just play one on the West Coast somewhere too.
Oh yeah, why? I mean,
they're going to play it in the Rose Bowl or the Coliseum or SoFi or something like that. Indianapolis is not going to have the monopoly on Big Ten championship events anymore.
Thank God.
You're out on Indianapolis.
Boring ass city
you're
with a bunch
done
of
with it.
rubes.
Josh, strong Indianapolis takes.
Yeah.
You're the only person I know with strong Indianapolis takes.
We've got cocktail sauce. Come on down.
I love this. This is great.
Our hotels are close to the arena. Everyone's hotels are close to the arena. You're not better than anyone else. You're Indianapolis.
Hey, they got a racetrack though.
Ooh. Is that the one where they drink milk at?
It is. That's the one, the Brickyard. They have a NASCAR race there. They do they have this thing.
The
Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, they got that. But don't they do a NASCAR race on it too?
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's the Brickyard 400, where they kiss the bricks at the end.
That's right.
Yeah,
I've seen this. I've heard about this.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Let me introduce you to Pavement, Indianapolis. It's a great modern invention, sweeping the country. You rubes.
Josh has got a little spicy there on Indianapolis. I love it. Thank you.
Happy to help.
I'm very entertained. All right, we got to get to Ellie French. We're going to talk Packers and what's happening in training camp as we roll through some of your favorite local question mark NFL teams. Are the Packers a local team? I don't know.
Fans in Omaha are allowed to pick their NFL team a la carte.
Yeah, that's what it is. But hopefully, I'll be back a couple of times next week, so we'll try to fit in the Chiefs and Broncos as well as some of the more popular teams in the area. But first, it's Ellie French talking Packers coming up after the break. 1620 The Zone. I think they call this the whip around. The whip. We do whip around coverage. Whippy. Crack the whip. Jon Schriner filling in for Connor Happer here on your Wednesday. And it's time to talk about one of the favored teams in the NFL here locally. It's the Green Bay Packers. And we talked to former Omaha resident now, Ellie French. Ellie French, currently of WLUK TV in Green Bay. Ellie, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, Beth. It feels good being back on.
Yeah, awesome stuff. We're glad to have you. How has your time in Green Bay been so far?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, I'm coming up on almost a year of living here, which is crazy. And, you know, they say time flies when you're having fun, and the time truly has flown by because when I first got here last September, the Packers had already played their first game of the season. Dismantled the Bears in Chicago, so that was a nice little start, but I know the Bears struggled last year, so it could be a different story this year. We'll see. But, yeah, I came here and got right into football season, and so that made things fly up until January. But yeah, so coming up on almost a year, and finally I get to cover Packers training camp. That started last week, so they're in week 2 now, and it's just been a lot of fun. So
she's poached several Omaha talent already in that year.
Yeah,
Omaha has lost many great employees to the city of Green Bay.
Hey, I'm not doing it on purpose, I promise. It's just, I guess the Omaha to Green Bay pipeline's strong.
Yeah, it's a straight path, apparently. How many cheese-related clothing items do you own now?
Oh, gosh. Cheese-related? I think, like, 0.
Oh, okay. No cheese hats.
Unfortunately. No, I don't. I did buy one for a friend. I had to because his personality, I was just like, he needs this.
Okay.
So I got it for him. I went to the pro shop and I got one from him. And actually, a crazy story about the cheese head. So that actually was a independent company up until I think last year. And the Packers actually just recently like bought the rights to like make the cheese head.
Interesting.
So it wasn't the Packers. I thought it was like the Packers this whole time that have been pushing them out, but it was like an independent company, and I feel bad that I don't know what the company is, but they were making it for forever. But now the Packers bought the rights, and the reason why I knew this is because I have seen people have obviously the traditional cheese heads, but I've seen also people like have like top hat cheese heads, or like I think like maybe a sombrero cheese head too. And I wanted to get my friend this top hat one because I was like, I love that. And so I went into the pro shop and they're like, no, like we just only do the regular. And they're like, I think it's because like, you know, the independent company maybe used to do it and do some different ones. But you love the traditional. It's great. And you see it all the time everywhere. So
I did not know that a cheese top hat was a thing. But hey, you learn something new every day, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Jordan Love is learning how to live his life with a whole bunch more money now. The big contract that came down the pipe this week. What's the word around the team with this big new contract for Jordan Love?
You know what's so funny is like we all knew the news was coming, and once it did, it came out Friday night, like at I think a little after 8:00. We all knew it was coming, and you thought it was going to be like this big kind of grand thing. It truly has been very like it hasn't been like this big blow up of like, oh, you know, like he's back and now they can finally like get rolling. Like it helps obviously, but like everything just kind of still feels like business as usual. Like nothing feels really different. Obviously, I think the first week of camp, which this is something you have to be a little cautious about with training camp, because it seems like the defense, and I don't know if this is across all of them, but I feel like I tend to notice it's like the defense is shining and they're getting, you know, picks left and right. And so the first week it was like, oh, is this because like Jordan's not here and the offense is trying to adjust to Sean Clifford and figuring him out, or is the defense just as good? So I would say with him coming back, like things do maybe feel like a little bit more smooth, and it's important obviously to have him out there to get those reps and for the team to really get ready. But everything has felt very just kind of business as usual. And I think, like, again, the topic of conversation truly around here has just been like the defense for the start of camp, because of, you know, getting a whole new staff in there, and Jeff Hafley as the defensive coordinator, former Boston College head coach, and just like what he's allowing with this new 4-3 defensive scheme. to put guys in position to fly around out there, to not have to think as much and really like be disruptive. Because the Packers were, I believe, last place in the NFL last year in takeaways or in interceptions, at least. So that's a point of emphasis. And so far, the defense has been flying around and gotten interceptions. I think within the first week, it was double digit. And Evan Williams, one of their rookie safeties, like I think it was maybe 15. He had 3 himself. So there was a lot. But just circling back to Jordan, it's good to have him out there now, because obviously if this contract kept, like if both sides weren't able to get it done and this continued into week 2, you were maybe going to start to get a little nervous about it. But now that he was back on Saturday at practice, and now like they can get this full week with him, and soon they'll have their first preseason game. Like him being back, the timing was just like perfect. So
yeah, it's interesting with Jordan Love, because I mean his entire NFL career up to this point has been like under the microscope, right? You're drafted while you still have Aaron Rodgers to be the replacement for Aaron Rodgers, right? And now you come out, you have a breakout season, you get a huge contract, and so now there's pressure to perform. How do you think he handles this situation?
He's so even keeled. It's crazy. I don't think that, and truthfully, he obviously was advised to not practice because he doesn't want to get hurt and that could jeopardize things. But I mean, when he was finally talked to us after he signed the contract and everything, he like was very disappointed that he couldn't be out there practicing. So I feel like, yeah, like you hear sometimes guys get money and that could change them and stuff, but I think that Jordan still understands that he needs to go out there and prove himself, because he only has one season of body of work, and truthfully it was only the second half of the season that was better. So I feel like he's not comfortable now that he's gotten this money. He still has that chip on his shoulder and saw what the team was capable of doing to them getting to that divisional game and losing like literally in the fourth quarter. Like I think he's just hungry. If anything, it's just made him more motivated. And like, obviously the money's great. He feels secure now. And that's always great. And being able to support his family and himself. And he just got engaged recently too. But I think it hasn't changed him at all. Like everything just feels like business as usual. And he's more like, okay, this is out of the way now. Thank goodness. Now I can just focus on the football and that ultimate goal of trying to win a Super Bowl.
We're talking to Ellie French of WLUK in Green Bay about Packers and training camp. You mentioned the new DC, Jeff Hafley, the transition to the 4-3. Sometimes that can take a year to take hold. There can be problems with personnel, not having the right guys to play those spots. When you're moving from a 3-4 to a 4-3. The things I've read out of training camp is like the players love it. It's been almost universal that they think this is a great thing. What's been your interaction around the change from the 3-4 to the 4-3?
Oh, guys' faces like light up when you ask them about it, especially like Rashawn Gary, who played at Michigan. So disruptive, and he's got like the 3-point track stance, and he just looks like a monster ready to just attack and disrupt like the O-line and get past and get to the QB. Like he just like is going out there, and it looks like he's got like foam coming out of his mouth because he's just like in that stance ready to attack. So that's the thing, and you mentioned it, like having the players like possible to make that kind of scheme work. They already did, and that's what's such a crazy part too. Is you're like, okay, if you knew you had these players that could like this defense could work, like why did they not do it earlier? I don't know, but now they've brought in a guy where they are able to do it. And it's working so well because, I mean, up front, that defensive line, and that's a point they've been emphasizing, is that it starts with that pressure up front with the defensive line. And they have so much talent there in Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, who they just re-signed to a 3-year deal before the Jordan Love deal, who has been with the Packers his entire career. Preston Smith, who they got from Washington a couple years ago, who's the most veteran player on the team. He's 31 years old. He's been like just the guys up front there is where it starts, and they have such good guys up there. They have great linebackers too. I think they're probably that unit that has a little bit more they need to prove in this next year. And guys like Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie are the 2 veterans in the room. But then you look at the other layer, and they've rebuilt the safety room as well. Like they completely got rid of basically all their starting safeties from last year are gone, and they brought in Xavier McKinney, who's been that leader in that room and been huge for them. A bunch of talented rookies they brought in who have been great. And then you've got Jair Alexander, who's the veteran in the corner room, and that pretty much leader looked at. But then you've also got a guy in Carrington Valentine who got some experience last year, and also Keyshawn Nixon, who plays with a lot of energy. So the defense I think that they have had the talent, and now it's like we finally get to see that on display. Hopefully. Like I said, they've been doing fantastic in training camp so far, but you're just like, okay, that's great. But now you got to do it on Sundays. So hopefully they will. They seem excited, but they love it. And they love Jeff Hafley too, because what I've heard constantly is they keep saying like he loves, like immediately when he got in, like Jair Alexander was talking about it yesterday. He came in and talked to Hafley and had a meeting with him and just kind of worked through ideas and talked to him just about things. And Hafley was more than happy to listen and like hear his feedback. And he said that meant so much to him because he hasn't had coaches like that are willing to talk and listen. And you got a guy like Jair Alexander that's speaking about like that really likes you, like that's important.
Yeah. One other big addition on the offensive side was Josh Jacobs. He comes in to replace Aaron Jones, who was universally beloved by the fan base. How has Josh Jacobs been accepted not only by the fans but by his teammates?
Oh yeah, he's been very accepted by it because you see like the talent that he's had, and I think that it's just obviously losing Aaron Jones was huge because like he was such a fan favorite too and such a big locker room guy as well. But and I will say so far, like Josh is kind of blending in. He isn't really like that, locker room, like kind of rah-rah guy. He's very like just kind of getting down to business and getting acclimated to things. But everyone really enjoys him and enjoys being around him. They like just the fact that he is so talented and they know the body of work that he's put in. I think the big thing is they're happy to have him because like they knew he was talented. It was just kind of unfortunate that when he was in Las Vegas, I feel like some of the like offensively, some things were hindered sometimes with him. And so now I feel like everyone's really excited because they know the kind of stuff that he can do. And they've been having a lot of instances where, and they like Coach LaFleur, like Matt LaFleur has talked about it too, of wanting to get him involved in the passing game as well. And so we've been seeing that at practice, him kind of taking some shorter passes. But I mean, he's very talented, and the offensive line, we'll see. Hopefully they're kind of piecing some things together as well with that, but they're getting there too. And they've invested in that offensive line. And so I think they'll be able to create those opportunities for him as well to just get out there and be disruptive. But I'm really excited to see how they utilize him in the passing game, because that was one thing he said that he wanted to be able to do more that he didn't get to do as much, I think, in Las Vegas. So I think he's excited for that opportunity and kind of just what he could do in that regard.
He's been tremendously productive over his career. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how he fits in with that offense. Okay, last one for you here, Ellie. What do you think the ceiling is for this team? How far can the Packers go this year?
Oh, I think they can make the playoffs for sure. Because here's the thing. When you look at last season, like they weren't expected to make the playoffs, especially at the start of the season. Like it was like, oh, okay, like let's see how this goes. Let's just kind of get through the season. And the fact that they not only made the playoffs, but were so close to making it to that NFC championship, it's just like, okay, it's playoffs. Playoffs are definitely like, that's sort of, I guess, I want to say they got to at least get there.
Like the minimum standard, yeah.
Yeah, if they don't get to at least the playoffs, I think it will be a disappointment considering they weren't expected to last year and got there. And then, as mentioned, now they have this whole new defense, and you've got your quarterback of the future locked up, and you've got talented receivers that are back. I mean, Jaden Reed was the best receiver in the room last year, and he was a rookie. It's like, okay, hopefully in year two, he can be even better. And you just hope that, because sometimes you hear, okay, well, maybe they take a step back, but based on the talent that they have in that room and what's in, on the offense and the defense as well, it's like, you got to at least make the playoffs with the talent that they have, because they're still a pretty young team and pretty energized. And I think that's why they were able to get to where they were last year too, is because they were so young and just going out there and playing and being free. And so if they can continue into this season, like they should at least make the playoffs.
There you have it. Ellie French, WLUK TV, says the Packers playoffs are bust. All right, Ellie, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate it, guys. Talk to you later.
We'll talk to you soon. That's Ellie French, reporter in Green Bay. We're talking Packers football. Interesting. The Josh Jacobs thing's interesting to me. I think that's going to be an interesting storyline, him moving from Vegas and replacing Aaron Jones, who everybody loved up there in Packer country.
Big shoes.
Yep, certainly big shoes. We got to get to the odd news. We got the odd news with Odd Son. And it's also Tweet Bag Wednesday, so get your tweet bag questions in. I'll answer them. You ask it, I'm answering. Make it weird. I don't care. Ask me anything. AMA, like the kids say on Reddit.
That's what they're saying.
Yep. It's Connor Happer Show, 1620 The Zone.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Hodson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Odd Son.
Yes, folks, it's that time of the day where Josh Hodson tells us all of the weird stories from around the country, nay, the world. Hello, Josh Hodson.
Hello, Jon Schriner. How are we doing?
I have a weird news question for you that I just saw on Twitter.
Okay.
I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to ask you because this is your realm. Shane McMahon
Shane O'Mac
has contacted AEW about a potential role.
This is true.
Is this blasphemy?
I mean, it's kind of his only option if he would like to participate in wrestling on television.
All right.
There was some unpleasantness within his own family's company.
You think?
So that would be odd if he popped up on a rival promotion's telecast someday.
I wanted to give you the space.
Would I watch? You bet your sweet bippy.
All right, give us some odd news.
I got a pair of stories from Paris. The Olympics, the dirty, dirty Seine River has been quite the story this week. The triathlon has been postponed many, many days because it's full of E. coli or something like that. Seth Ryder, the U.S. triathlete, admitted that in order to prepare his body for the germs he was about to willingly accept as he swam in the Seine River, he spent weeks not washing his hands. He explained to The Athletic that this was his strategy. He wanted to build up an immunity to germs in hopes of being able to beat the E. coli in the dirty, dirty Seine River.
Who is he, my 7-year-old?
The 27-year-old says, we know there's going to be some E. coli exposure, so I just try to increase my E. coli threshold by exposing myself to a bit of E. coli in your day-to-day life. He insisted that it's actually backed by science, proven methods, just little things throughout your day, like not washing your hands after you go to the bathroom.
It's okay, Seth. I don't like to wash my hands either.
So yeah, again, I got things to do.
Yeah.
Obviously not recommended by doctors, but Ryder felt it was necessary, particularly considering many had been nervous about the river. The government spent $1.5 billion trying to clean the river. It doesn't seem like it went great, but we'll see.
Was this like the only, did we have to swim in the poop river? Was this the only option?
I don't think so. I think we could have done it somewhere else, right?
There's got to be a lake somewhere nearby, right? Like,
right.
Do we have to do it in the Seine? Like,
I understand it's historic. It's a landmark.
Yeah.
But
it's also filthy.
If you can't, you can't, right? Like,
nobody's jumping in the Thames in London.
No. We're not going to do it in the dried up LA basin in 2028. There's Terminators in that basin, by the way.
There are.
You got to stay out.
They jump motorcycles over it.
It's nice to have a movie watcher across from me. Connor would be like, "What? Oh no, I made Connor watch that. I forgot.
You did.
So he has
that was on
Terminator
the short-lived film school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's the Predators that got us in trouble. But also in the Seine, they actually swam in it this morning. Canadian competitor Tyler Mislachuk.
That's a Canadian name.
Yeah, he got out of the Seine, stood up, and vomited on the finish line on live TV. The triathlon, there's a cycling, there's a 10K that you're running, and then you swim. The triathletes battled it out today. It took a toll on Mislachuk, who looked very unwell at the finish line. The 29-year-old threw up while his opponents crossed the finish line and dropped to the ground in complete exhaustion. It wasn't just one and done. Mislachuk, who finished 9th, said he threw up 10 times during the race. Ooh. I'm going to guess this isn't because of the Seine.
Yeah.
But
exertion.
Just me, just a guess.
Mislachuk, more like Upchuck. Am I right?
That's right.
Hey.
Got him.
Yeah. You guys, I'm probably not going to be asked back to do this show again.
Okay, so that's the first story,
right.
The dirty, dirty Seine.
The dirty Seine.
We move on. Story number 2 from Grand Island. Ever heard of it?
I have been there several times.
Okay, well, I know there's a lot of people who listen to the show. They're travelers. They're working about driving in the car all day, turn on 1620, and we appreciate them for it. If you rented a vehicle in Grand Island this week and left 9 pounds of meth in the rental car, the Grand Island police would like to return it to you. In a Facebook post earlier this week, Grand Island police said 9 pounds of meth were discovered in a returned rental vehicle. Police said the person responsible can stop by the police station and speak with an officer They'd like to collect your information and take you for a short walk and a tour of the Hall County Department of Corrections.
Hey, left something in the rental car. You guys find it?
Hey, you guys got a lost and found over there. It's very important.
It's extremely valuable item that I left in there. No joke. So my dad for a while worked at a body shop in Springfield, a little garage in Springfield, and they had a towing service as well. And they would get calls to tow abandoned vehicles from time to time, and they'd keep them in the impound lot for a certain number of days, weeks, whatever it was, before they were eventually determined to be permanently abandoned, right? So my dad had towed this Jeep, and it sat in the lot forever. And then they took it to the auto recyclers to get what they could for it, right?
Sure.
While they're tearing it apart at the auto recyclers,
oh no,
there was an enormous bale of marijuana under the back seat. Like, this thing was probably 5 pounds of marijuana. Like, and it was, I remember my dad telling me the story. He's like, I didn't know what to do. It was just in there. And I was like, oh, what do we do with this? What do we do? And I was like, Dad?
What
Dad,
did you do?
What did you do with it? Like, oh, we just threw it in the dumpster.
Well, I know many people are saying this to their radio right now, so allow me to check the back seat.
Right.
Check the back seat.
You know, I meth doesn't make you forgetful, does it? Or does it? I don't know. I wouldn't know.
You might be so amped up that you
just jacked.
Forget. Yeah.
I got to go do these things.
Gotta go do all these things. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. Here's the keys. It's your car now. I didn't bother to fill it up.
9 pounds, huh? That
sounds like a lot.
What's
of meth.
the street value on that?
I don't know. Can you Google that? Street value 9 pounds of.
Okay, if people upstairs, Josh is not. He's doing this for research purposes.
No one's listening. On average, the price of crystal meth is $80 a gram.
A gram.
How many grams are in a pound? How many grams in a pound?
And it's 16 ounces. I don't know how many.
453.592 grams in a
Whoa.
pound.
So 453 times 80.
Times 80. And that's the price per pound.
That's $36,000 per pound. $36,240 per pound.
Times
it's
9.
around $325,000.
Okay.
So a pretty penny.
Yeah.
How much did the rental car cost, and how much meth did you leave behind? Do the math.
Might be able to afford filling it back up with a tank of gas at those rental prices.
Wow.
Finally, we end with Darren Rovell. I'm sure you're familiar with Darren Rovell.
Yeah, I know the guy. Yep. Know who that is.
Not personally, I hope.
I think I muted him on Twitter.
Yeah, like a smart, intelligent individual. Well, his bit is he buys weird things that he feels are historically significant in hopes of reselling them, not because he wants to keep them and value them and, put them in a museum or anything.
Did Darren Rovell buy the vomit from the Canadian athlete?
If you could scoop it off the pavement, I'm sure he would. Darren Rovell has bought a Twinkie recently for an undisclosed amount over $1,000. He wouldn't tell us exactly how much, but he did say it's over $1,000. He believes this Twinkie to be the world's oldest still sealed Twinkie. He dates it back to 1976.
Okay.
The former ESPN CNBC Action Network reporter who earlier this year founded the sports collectibles media platform Collect. I'm sure business is booming. Loves unusual collectibles. In a commentary posted on Collect yesterday, Rovell recounted some of the interesting items he's picked up over the years. Shaquille O'Neal's college ID, Tiger Woods' signed lap dance ticket, Bruce Springsteen's health insurance card. So a 48-year-old Twinkie fits right in. Rovell learned the Twinkie was available at a collectible show in Cleveland. He said, quote, "I knew I had to have it."
Of course.
After one man purchased the rare junk food for $1,000, Rovell convinced the man to sell it to him for more than $1,000.
Wow.
Hey, instant profit. Sell it to sell it. Sorry I lost bidding to you, but sell it to me.
Hey, you're gonna make $200 on the deal.
Yeah,
right out the gate.
Right away. Turn around.
Over $1,000 for an expired Twinkie. Is this the only expired food item that is worth a lot of money?
Couldn't be. Ravel has meticulously researched his new possession and found that there is another Twinkie from that era in existence, only that one is unwrapped. A chemistry teacher in Maine put a Twinkie in a glass case in 1976 to observe the decay. He retired in 2004, but the Twinkie is still going strong in the decay game on display at the school. That's disgusting, but I bet it looks exactly the same. Rovell is fairly certain he has the world's oldest sealed Twinkie and hopes to get that certified by the Guinness World Record book, which I imagine would up its value. Rovell said that we will soon find out if there is an older one, because he says by getting this story out into the public, if anyone believes they have an older one, they'll come forward and say, not so fast, Darren Rovell.
Yep.
So he's got like a two-pronged strategy. It's a stupid thing he's doing, but I will admit he's doing it the smartest way possible.
Okay.
Like, hey, let me get this out into some news outlets. They'll talk about it. And then if anyone has an older Twinkie, they'll tell me.
Yeah.
And if no one does, I'll get it certified by Guinness, and that will up the Twinkie's value.
Somebody tell Darren Rovell that I got a package of hot dogs in my freezer from like 2021. I'll sell it to him for $50.
I mean, is he still hanging on to I'm going to be very careful here. I believe he has a bus pass from Rosa Parks.
Whoa.
No, it was her NAACP card.
Okay. Yeah,
I knew it was a card from Rosa Parks. Autographed, by the way.
I'm not here to kink shame, but this is weird.
You're a weird guy, Darren.
Yeah, this is weird.
Super weird guy.
Old Twinkies is your thing. All right.
Sure.
Go for it.
You're
bud.
not hurting anyone.
You're still muted on Twitter.
Oh, that did not inspire you to unmute?
No, it did not at all.
I got to see what's going on over here.
No.
Okay.
Still on mute. Is that our odd news?
That's the odd news.
All right. Thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you, John.
The tweet bag is coming up next. We got a few questions to answer in the tweet bag. There's still time during this commercial break. If you got a last minute question you want to get in under the wire,
let's get weird.
You can get weird here on the tweet bag on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
This is the Tweet Bag. You send your questions in, and we answer them. Like no other radio segment ever. It's the Tweet Bag on the Connor Happer Show.
They did it! They did it! We were in here screaming at the television.
Point goes long.
USA Serbia, 5th set
Against Serbia.
against the Serbs.
I don't know how good they are.
USA pulls it out in the 5th. They won the opening 2 sets. Looked like they were going to cruise. And then Serbia came back and won 3 and 4. And then it went beyond 15 in set 5. But USA pulls out the victory. Whoo, just barely. It was nervous times here in the studios at 50th and Capitol.
You said it. They're going to win. America is going to win exactly the way
They did.
China beat the Americans earlier this week. Rankings.
They're checking the touch.
Oh.
Serbia has challenged.
Gotta go to
Point
replay.
awarded. USA wins.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
That was quick.
They had to win that one too. That was big. All right, it's time for the tweet bag. We have some questions, Josh Hodson,
Sure do.
that I am supposed to answer.
Yes, you are. And you said you would.
I would answer them. I will answer them. I will do my best.
Okay.
Give you everything I got,
Really stuck on
as long as it's something I want to give.
really stuck on these rankings here. US number 2 in the world. Serbia.
Not number 2.
We're going to go Control F at this point. 4th in the world.
All
okay.
right.
I scrolled right past them.
All right.
Sorry for assuming they weren't very good. We begin the tweet bag today with an email from Kip.
Hi, Kip.
How would you rank these M&Ms?
Okay.
1 through 5.
1 through 5.
1 is the best. 5 is the worst, obviously. You have your choice of minis, peanut M&Ms, regular M&Ms, peanut butter M&Ms, caramel M&Ms.
Okay. Right off the bat, minis are 5.
Yep.
They're too small. I can shovel too many of them in my mouth at once. I don't need this. I'm going to go. This is tough. This is a good question, Kip.
Yeah, terrific.
This is very good. This is exactly what we're looking for. At 4, I'm going to put the regs, the old classics.
Okay.
Caramel's 3.
I have them flipped.
You have caramel 4, peanut 3.
Regular 3.
Regular 3. Yeah, so I said mini, regular, peanut, or mini, regular, caramel. 2 is peanut, 1 is peanut butter.
Now I have those flipped. I have peanut butter 2, peanut 1.
Okay. So yeah, my ranking is mini, regular, caramel, peanut butter. Peanut butter M&Ms were a fantastic invention.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a tiny little Reese's peanut butter cup.
And it also came like that was the first
specialty M&M.
Yeah, like it was just regular and peanut for generations. And then they said,
you know what?
Hold on to your socks, everybody. We're about to wow you.
We got a blue one, and there's peanut butter in the middle of this one. Yep. The caramel ones, like I think I want to like them a lot more than I actually do because I love caramel. I make toffee at Christmas every year.
Wow.
They just don't do it.
Overachiever.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Kip. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good
off to a great start, flying start.
Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Why do we refer to pants as a pair of pants? Is it because there are 2 legs? If so, should we not refer to shirts as a pair of shirts?
Yeah. This is a good question. We're talking etymology here, not entomology. Etymology.
Etymology. Okay.
The study of language and words.
Boy, what a smart show we're doing.
We are very smart, very humble, very good people on both sides of the desk. The pair of pants. Yes, obviously it's because there are 2 legs, right? But a pair of shirts. You know what? If we're calling it a pair of pants, we probably should call it a pair of shirts. They're 2 arms.
If the reason is
that's the standard.
Yeah. The standard is the standard. People forget.
Often though, it's just you just say pants. I gotta get new pants. I gotta change my pants.
Uh-huh.
But it is plural. Pants. It's not I gotta put on a new pant. It's pants. Right?
I have to put on a new pant.
Yeah. I need a new pant.
No, you'd sound like a psychopath.
You would be a psychopath.
Your family would commit you if you started talking like that.
Guys, John started saying pant.
We need to talk about John. He's calling them pant now.
It's also shorts. It's not short.
Yeah.
Should I wear pant or short today?
Oh, you got to go short. It's going to be 115 out there today.
No. Yeah, I think, look, if we're calling them pants, we got to say shirts. Which makes everything very confusing, and my life doesn't have meaning anymore.
Yeah, I'm not going to, but
I'm not going to do it.
We definitely should.
We should, there's a lot of things we should do that we don't. So.
Right, like wash your hands
Yeah.
before swimming in the
There
sand.
you go. All right,
You're gonna want to wash your hands.
Another great question. Thank you.
We just got a text from Joseph.
Hi, Joseph.
Based on the M&M's question, I now, for some reason, am curious what shape of Reese's peanut butter cup you find to be the best.
Oh, the size.
Yeah.
There's like the tiny mini ones.
There's minis, there's jumbos.
The individuals. Yeah.
There's
the super jumbo
there's
ones.
medals, there's Christmas trees, there's pumpkins.
Yeah. You know what? The eggs, the Reese's egg at Easter gets it done.
Uh-huh.
That baby, like the chocolate to peanut butter ratio is right
Just
in the
perfect
egg.
in that.
Yeah.
The jumbo's too much.
Too much.
The minis are fine if you want chocolate with a little bit of peanut butter,
Yeah.
which, we all feel that way every now and then.
The little fun size ones though, that chocolate to peanut butter ratio is very good as well. Like you just unwrap it, pop that baby in your mouth, and it's good. You're good to go. But I think it's the egg, the Easter egg Reese's.
Definitely.
That's the champion in my book.
Reese's is doing too much. They're doing too many things, but I appreciate it.
Yes.
Like at the same time, I'm willing to buy one and take the chance that this is the best development in Reese's in 20 years, but I know it's not going to be.
There's a stupid reason that I don't like the Christmas trees.
Is it the war on Christmas?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. Reese's is definitely waging a war on Christmas. The Christmas tree is a pagan symbol, by the way. It's because when you bite it, it's uneven now. Like you bite it and it's not half. Because it's wider at the bottom and narrower at the top.
Okay.
How do you get 2 even bites? I don't like that. It's like some OCD thing. Like no, it's no good. I can't do it. Can't do it.
I follow.
Very good question, Joseph. Thank you.
I follow the logic. Joe texts in to the
another Joe. Hello, Joe.
Machine. Yeah, we had a Joseph, and now we have a Joe. Other people can listen to the show, guys. You don't have to hog it all. John, I know you like movies. What is the best movie you've seen this summer?
The best movie I've seen this summer. So I'll tell you, it's not a new movie, but it was new to me.
That counts.
American Fiction.
Oh, terrific movie.
Is the best movie I've seen this summer.
Really, really funny, really
it's
smart,
so good. It's
sharp idea.
Yeah, love that movie. I thought it was really, really good. So that's probably up there. The most recent one I saw was Twisters. Not the best movie I've seen. It's fun. It's not the best movie. But yeah, if you haven't seen American Fiction yet, like jump on that. That is just really well done. Great movie.
Boys in the Afternoon did that for Movie Club not too terribly long.
What did they say about it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak for them. I thought about it and then opted not to. It's like, oh yeah, they loved it. I don't know if they loved it.
Do you have one? You're also of movies.
I am of movies. I just haven't gotten out to Twisters. I really want to, but something always comes up the night I'm going to go. Because Gary also saw it and he's like, Josh, you got to go see Twisters. You got to see Twisters. I'm like, really? I have to see Twisters?
I hated the trailer, by the way. When I saw the trailer for that movie, I was like, this is gonna be dumb.
I said the same thing, but I watched the original with my wife just as an excuse to watch the original. Oh, got to get ready for the new one. Like there's going to be a whole bunch of continuity between the two. Just wanted to watch the old one. I didn't need a reason. And I said, oh man, this movie's great.
What is it? Wolverine?
Deadpool and Wolverine was, yes, as a movie, it isn't that great. But as a sort of a member berries kind of meta
as an entertainment product.
Yes, terrific. Yeah. Absolutely home run by those guys.
I really want to see Bike Riders.
Yes.
My wife is not at all interested in seeing that movie.
I'm excited to see if Austin Butler has dropped the Elvis accent.
So the singer of my favorite band, Lucero, Ben Nichols, his brother is Jeff Nichols, the director of that movie. He also directed, I believe, Mud and Take Shelter. If you've seen those two. And Jeff Nichols always puts Lucero music in his movies, which thrills me to no end. So
would this be the Nichols family of directors that now includes Rachel Nichols?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But it's Ben Nichols is the lead singer of Lucero and lead guitarist, and his brother Jeff is a film director who's done some movies that I really like. And I really want to see Bike Riders. I just haven't been able to yet.
His Wikipedia page says he's influenced by Mark Twain.
All right.
Who among us isn't?
Modern society is influenced by Mark Twain.
Yeah. Okay, I have an email here from MB.
Okay, MB.
I have not read this, so forgive me if it ends up being a joke. I don't know.
All right.
This is about the origin of pants.
Okay.
The first leg covering was made by a one-legged tailor. He called it a pant. Others liked the look and asked him to sew a two-legged version for them. He did and called it the plural pants.
I'm dubious.
Are we buying this?
Very skeptical. I'm very skeptical of this.
But it's like it's not such. If it's a joke, it's not such a joke that I'm immediately dismissing it.
A one-legged tailor made the first pants. I don't think so.
I don't know.
Like, nobody ever thought of covering their legs with cloth before that?
I mean, we had togas. What more did we need?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm skeptical. But I'm thankful for the submission.
All right. That's the tweet bag.
That's the tweet bag. All right. Good
bag,
questions,
y'all.
guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Got a little bit weird. Not as weird as I was expecting.
Well, you know.
I mean, M&Ms and peanut butter cups.
Got deep into the food, which is generally how this goes.
Yep. All right. That's the tweet bag. When we come back, it's time to talk to Robin Washut of Husker Online. There were some things come out of the press conference earlier in the week. I want to talk to Robin about that. We'll get to him here on the other side of the break. It's the Connor Happer Show, 1620 The Zone.
the biggest basketball coaching convention of.
Gonna work on your sports stuff while you listen.
What?
You don't want them there. Right now, I'm talking.
What is going on? Robin, are you okay?
Robin Washut.
Are your kids near you, or what just happened?
Husker Online.
I took a lot of preparation to make this thing a flawless interview, and clearly I still can't avoid it.
Robin Washut, Husker Online.
Maybe it was aliens. Maybe it was a phenomenon that we can't explain.
The Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
That's right. USA Water Polo. They just scored on Italy.
Flavor Flav is jacked.
A rocket goal from the left-hand side. USA leads 3-0. This is your Olympic radio station. And we're joined by Robin Washut. Robin, how into the Olympics are you?
Very mildly. I'll watch a few select events, but yesterday I just turned it on and it was skeet shooting, and I was like, what are we doing here? What other point in my life am I going to sit there and watch? So I don't know. I'll follow it secondhand and kind of watch the stories and highlights and stuff, but I don't actively devote my day around Olympic coverage.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. We'll let you off the hook for that one.
I will be dialed into USA basketball versus South Sudan today, though.
Yeah, that's
got my interest.
That's the intriguing one, given how they played against South Sudan in that warm-up match.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll be paying attention to that one, too. There's some other things to pay attention to. You wrote an article about Emmett Johnson, and I think the running back room is, I don't know, to me, the most intriguing position group on the team this season. And I've talked that I think Emmett Johnson is ultimately the guy who's going to emerge out of that bunch just based on the way he finished the season. But you wrote a story about him. What did you learn about Emmett Johnson while writing this story?
I think probably the most intriguing part of it is that, that room seems pretty wide open still. I know a lot of people share your opinion that right now Emmett's probably the front runner, just considering how he took advantage of his opportunities at the end of last year, starting 6 of the final 7 games, and then with Ramir and Gabe both being limited through pretty much all spring, he got the lion's share of the workload all spring, and so he's got, from a recency standpoint, quite a bit of a leg up on those other guys, and just from a durability aspect, he's the one guy that hasn't missed significant time to injury yet. So all that being said, it looks like he's got a lot of momentum on his side of it. But what really jumped out was just kind of talking to him, listening to him, and the confidence that he has in himself, and that's something that's really never wavered throughout. I think everybody else is just kind of catching up and joining him in that confidence in his abilities. And the guy that a year ago was at best 4th on the depth chart, and now we're talking about him being potentially the front runner for the starting job. Well, he's a guy that always believed he was, the best running back out there, and he got his opportunity. He took full advantage of it, and now he's in a really good situation right now. But there's still a lot of wild cards in play in that competition. For me, the biggest one is Gabe Ervin. I think when healthy, his ceiling is probably as high as anybody in that room, just because of his frame. He's so much bigger than Ramir Johnson and Emmett Johnson. And when you go back to his freshman year, when he took over that starting job, he just kind of was that every down workhorse type back that Nebraska's really been looking for several years now. But can he stay healthy? How is he going to be coming back off that injury? We just don't know. And then Ramir Johnson's the same way, where kind of another overlooked guy a few years ago. When he's gotten his opportunities, he shined. But unfortunately, he just can't stay on the field long enough to really establish himself. So I think that every one of those guys, you can make a really strong case for as having a real claim to push for that starting job. But right now, I think I'm with you in saying that Emmett Johnson's probably the leader. Just the fact that the way he finished last year, the way that he kind of continued to build on that through the spring, and the fact that he's really done nothing to lose that job at this point. Just a matter if the other guys can stay healthy enough to catch up.
One of the parts of the story that I really enjoyed was when you draw the parallel between the career of Ramir Johnson and where Emmett Johnson is, about just a guy who was buried on the depth chart, but just as the season goes along, he becomes a player that you can't keep off the field, and you have to play him because he produces when he's out there. What did you take from kind of the drawing that parallel between those two?
That's interesting too, because Ramir Johnson's best game that season, I believe, was Maryland, when he had was the number one lead dog role and had a career game. And then you go back last season, Emmett Johnson's best game was against Maryland. So there are a lot of parallels there. And I think from a frame standpoint, they're pretty similar. They do a lot of the same things. So there are a lot of comparisons there, and I think it's especially notable that Emmett said that he views Ramir as kind of like a big brother, and has really kind of tried to follow how Ramir carries himself on and off the field and the work that he puts in, every single day and everything that they do. And so having a guy like that, leading by example, the way that Ramir does, is only going to benefit Emmett for the long run. And so, those two guys, there's a lot of similarities in a lot of different ways, both as football players and both in the way that they approach the game and everything they do, in life, really.
Coming out of the press conferences earlier this week, everyone always asks about Dylan Raiola, and for good reason, and you know why. But the coaching staff likes to talk about Heinrich Haarberg a lot, and it seems like they're very excited to see what he can do. So even if he ends up not being the starter, do you think there's a place in the scheme for Haarberg?
I mean, my guess right now is he's cemented as the number 2 at this point. I know Daniel Kaelin will have something to say about that, but right now, I mean, he's firmly on my projected depth chart, that number 2 backup quarterback spot. And if you go through the years, it's probably been very few positions more critical than the backup quarterback, just considering the just instability that position has had over the last decade or so. So that in itself makes him a really critical part of the team. But then also the things that he can do as just an athlete. Go back to the opener. I mean, his first time he touched the ball was as a tight end running a route. So clearly he has that potential, and the staff likes him in that role. And then you kind of look at different packages they can do, whether it be goal line stuff, different unique wrinkles you can throw in there. I think they would be doing themselves a disservice if they didn't try to utilize that. Even if you have 2 quarterbacks on the field, just to kind of make the defense overthink things. Like, there's a lot of different ways that Heinrich Haarberg can impact the game, even if he's not being the starting quarterback. So you see what he's done, and in his chances last year, and then this offseason, he's done everything that they could have hoped for. You look at the elite list that they put out over the course of summer workouts, he's on it pretty much every time. And so that shows the work that he's putting in this offseason to keep himself in that conversation. And when you got a guy like that who's as big and strong, as fast as Heinrich is, and can do so many different things as just an all-around football player, you got to find ways to get him on the field. But, that being said, history suggests that the number 2 quarterback is a pretty critical role for him to fill, if nothing else.
One of the other things that was talked about in those press conferences that we kind of learned about was that Tristan Alvano has been dealing with an injury and actually had a surgery to correct something. Is this, you think, more or less concerning than it looks on its face?
Well, I mean, anytime you got your lone scholarship kicker that's not available for the first couple weeks of camp, and especially a guy that's kind of had the inconsistency issues that Tristan has had so far in his career, that's a concern. The one reason that I would probably maybe put the brakes on that concern is just the tone in which Matt Rule and Ed Foley addressed the situation. Like, they didn't seem overly worried. Maybe they were just putting on a good face. I don't know. Like, Ed Foley said this is a pretty routine deal for kickers. Like, they had guys at Carolina Panthers that had similar procedures where it's just kind of a wear and tear issues that a lot of times is just kind of part of the deal with being a kicker. So maybe that's all it is, and he'll come back full strength. But you're talking about a guy that right now needs all the work that he can get, just because of how erratic he's been. And this offseason really didn't do a whole lot to alleviate those concerns, where he'd have these stretches where he looked like he was turning the corner, and then the spring game he misses 2 out of 3 kicks. So like, there's I think regardless of how the coaches may try to downplay it, and maybe they're justified in doing so, from a fan perspective, that's something to watch, because kicker was already arguably the biggest concern facing this team coming out of spring ball, and now he's hurt, coming back off an injury, and right now your backups are walk-ons. I will say though, John Hull, the kid that they got from Lincoln Southwest, Iowa Western, he was verbally committed to Coastal Carolina and was the #1 kicker, transfer kicker on the Coles kicking camp rankings. So for whatever that's worth, it seems like they at least have someone that's a viable backup that could make things interesting, especially if Tristan's a little shaky coming back off that surgery.
Well, we certainly know the kicking game has to be better this year than it was a year ago, and the chasing 3. I mean, you're chasing 3 points to try and pick up some wins. The other thing you had a story that I was interested in about was the Micah Mazuka story. When this guy, announced that he was transferring to Nebraska, it was almost a foregone conclusion, like, oh, this guy's going to be one of the starting guards. But the quotes from Matt Rule have been, to say that he's still got a long way to go to understand the standards. What did you take from that? What does that mean?
So when he said that was the kind of beginning of spring. So I don't know if Matt was using that press conference as a way to kind of send a message to Micah. And if it was or wasn't, it seemed like it worked, because the reports as spring progressed from coaches and teammates alike got more and more positive. And then he ended up being the top left guard for Raiola in the spring game. So that was encouraging, that it seemed like that message got taken to heart. And I think a lot of it was just, doing the, like, he's the type of guy that is good enough to where he can just show up and usually be one of the best players at his position. I think that the standard is making sure that you're performing at that level in everything you do, not just on game day or scrimmages or, good on good reps, that, even when you're doing individual drills or weightlifting or academic work or whatever it may be, you're doing things the way that this Nebraska football program expects you to do them. And so I think that was probably a little bit of an acclimation for him to adapt to the expectations that maybe he's facing here, that potentially he wasn't facing at his previous stops. We don't know, but either way, it sounds like that message hit home, and there's been nothing but positives since. Media day, I talked to Ty Robinson, who has a locker right next to Micah's, and he said that he's really kind of embraced everything that they want this program to be about. And so, that was encouraging. And then listening to, guys like, who else talked about him? Some of the other comments from the other offensive linemen, just the fact that, they have a very strict standards for themselves. And it sounds like Mike has really embraced that and, tried to do everything to ingrain himself into their way of doing things. So right now, you want to talk about projecting starters, he's my #1 left guard at this point. And unless something drastically changes between now and the opener, I don't expect that to change.
All right. Talking to Robin Washut, Husker Online. One more here. Quick basketball question before we get you out. You got to go and see a first look kind of at what the 24-25 basketball team is going to look like in practice. What were your big takeaways? A lot of new names. Yeah, and it's hard to make a lot of sweeping conclusions. We got to watch about 20 minutes, and it mostly consisted of, 3-man weave and layup drills and some, kind of standard, on-air shooting drills. So it kind of was what it was. Braxton Mia didn't practice. He was there. I think they just held him out for, some minor injury issue. And then Berke Youngtishul is still not on campus. He'll be here in mid-August. And then Gavin Griffiths obviously had a wrist procedure done, so he'll miss the rest of summer camp, but should be 100% by the time fall practices start up in September. So those are 3 fairly important players, new additions that you wanted to get a look at, but couldn't. But I would say maybe my biggest takeaway
was that I think Andrew Morgan is going to be a lot better than people maybe give him credit for. He's the one non-high major transfer that they got, and he saw limited production comparatively at North Dakota State, and so I don't think really overly high expectations for him coming into this year. But man, his shooting looked a lot better than I think I expected. We'd been told that was probably the one kind of limit in his game, that he could do a lot of things in the low post, but he wasn't the shooter Rink was. Well, he looked pretty good. I mean, granted, it's we didn't see him with a defender in his face, but just from a form and consistency standpoint, I thought that picture looked pretty promising. And then from athleticism, they were doing just some transition, like I said, 3-man weave type stuff, and his bounce off the dribble was a lot more than I expected. He's an above the rim type player that can get up and two-hand dunk and in transition and look pretty fluid doing it. So that situation looked pretty good, especially considering that Rink Mast's absence was probably one of the bigger concerns facing this team, just in terms of how they were going to fill all the things that Rink did. And I think having Andrew Morgan there and his surprising offensive skill set, and then Braxton Mia being a defensive, rim protecting, lob threat, finisher around the rim. Those two guys should give Nebraska plenty of options on both ends of the floor at that 5 spot that should help kind of ease the loss of what they have to replace with Rink.
That's Robin Washut. You can read him on 3 Husker Online. Robin, appreciate you coming in today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. It's Robin Washut. You should go read that story by Robin about Emmett Johnson. It's really good and pretty illuminating and tells you a lot about the kid and
well, only because you said so.
Yeah, it's a good story. Robin did a great job with it. Was really interested in that. So go check that out. Okay, one more break and then we're going to come back and I'm telling you about the NCAA. They're doing another stupid thing. Are you surprised?
Not in the least.
Not in the least. What is that stupid thing? Stick around and find out. It's Connor Happer Show, 1620 The Zone.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Here comes the clown.
Makeup on, clown shoes engaged. Jon Schriner sitting in for Connor Happer today. Josh Odson's still here.
I am.
He's the old standard on this one.
That's right. Someone's got to show up to work every day.
Okay. The NCAA is dumb. You already knew that.
Great take.
Yeah. The details of the antitrust settlement have become clear. You've heard, I'm sure, that schools can share $23.1 million worth of revenue maximum with their student athletes. They're allowed to divide it however they want. Title IX, still up in the air, whatever. All that we've kind of known. Here's the dumb thing. They're trying to restrict what schools can do with NIL. Where have you heard this before?
Sounds familiar.
They want to put rules in place that say NIL collectives can only pay student athletes for legitimate endorsements. And let me be the first to say I'm no legal expert. But having followed these stories long enough, I can tell you that this is stupid and opening themselves up to further litigation.
They always do this.
They always do this. This is how the NCAA operates. And they don't seem to know what name, image, and likeness means. They don't understand how this whole thing works. They're like a child who wanders into the middle of a movie and asks what's going on.
What you watching?
Because here's the thing about owning your name, image, and likeness. You can sell that to whoever you want for whatever purpose you deem feasible. Nobody gets to tell you to whom or for what reason you can license your name, image, and likeness. That is illegal. That is antitrust. Like, that's the crux of this whole thing, NCAA. You're doing the thing again.
Gee, do you think some of these local restaurants and car washes and big national chains are maybe going to want to have the men's Olympic gymnastic team, who many of them are Big Ten gymnasts, advertising their products?
If someone wants to license your name, image, and likeness and then chooses never to use you in an endorsement, they can do that.
That is also
and you are allowed to take their money. That's this whole thing.
We had a deal. They never brought me anything from creative. I cashed the check.
But for whatever, like, they just don't get it. They're so out of touch with this whole thing. They just want to have their finger on the button to say, no, you can't do it.
We're in control here.
We're going to put guardrails in place to make sure that the payments to student athletes are for real and legitimate like, you can't do this. The courts have told you cannot do this. You can't restrict how someone uses their name, image, and likeness. There's been lawsuits about this. I don't get it. I just, did their lawyers just need a reason to keep being their lawyers? And they're just telling them, hey, write this in. This will keep me employed.
Hey, we're getting $1 million a week, whether you use us or not. You better do something stupid.
Honestly, I don't know how. I don't know what else it could be at this point. Because it is, like, to me, a layperson, I don't have a law degree. I've never studied law. It seems pretty obvious that this has already been ruled against. The court said you can't restrict anyone's name, image, and likeness rights in any way at all. You can't do that. That is in violation of antitrust law. So here we go again. There's going to be another lawsuit. As soon as they start trying to enforce this stuff, maybe they'll wise up. Maybe they'll say, actually, we shouldn't do that. But this is the NCAA. And they don't wise up until someone wearing a robe tells them to wise up. I'll put on a robe and tell you not to do this. Is that going to make you happy? Come on. It's just, How can you not have learned your lesson by now?
Well, the law's always changing, John. Maybe.
Oh, is it?
Maybe it changed.
And so now they're like, and they actually came out and said, we need Congress to make laws about this. Like, there are laws about this. The law says you can't do that. That's what the law says. We don't need a new law. You need to obey the laws that exist.
What about the song "I Fought the Law and the Law Won," John?
Mm-hmm.
You ever think about that?
Pretty accurate. It almost leaves me speechless at this point. Like, what are you guys doing? You can't stop them. Get with the times. All right. Summer school rolls on next. Scott Wolf of Inside USC, one of the more intriguing teams in the Big Ten. Where
are they the big dog?
Yeah. Are they in the top half or are they not? We'll see if Scott Wolf can answer any of those questions when we talk about USC football. It's coming up after the break here on the Connor Happer Show. Final hour of the Connor Happer Show starts now. Summer school rolls on. We roll through all the teams in the Big Ten, talk to somebody who covers the team. And today it is the University of Southern California Trojans. And Scott Wolf from Inside USC joins. Scott, thanks for coming on.
How you doing?
We're doing well. We're rolling through a Wednesday, talking football and some other things. We talked some weird news and some food questions from the folks who tweet in the tweet bag and trying to answer their weird questions. So it's been a good day so far.
Sounds interesting.
How are things in Southern California?
Warm as usual this time of year,
yeah.
But a little quiet in terms of football because people here tend not to think too much about college football until at least they start practicing. which will happen this weekend for USC. So, everybody's kind of curious, especially, me, obviously, about how this move to the Big Ten is going to work out.
Sure.
And we'll see.
Let's start off with the big picture. ESPN put out their list of the toughest schedules from around the country. They list USC as having the toughest Power 4 non-conference schedule. The Trojans play kind of a top 15 type LSU team. They got Utah State, who's picked kind of middle of the pack in the Mountain West, and they finished the season with Notre Dame, who's in that conversation of top 5 in the country. So 2 of those 3 very difficult games in the non-con. What's your read on this? How difficult is this for USC?
Well, the first 3 weeks are going to be I think they're going to almost determine the season, because they play LSU in the first week. And then in the third game, they got to go to Ann Arbor and play Michigan.
Yeah.
And, I'm curious if Michigan is still Michigan without Jim Harbaugh. But, USC's not played anywhere like Ann Arbor in years. So this is going to be a wake-up call for them to go there, no matter how good Michigan is. And, I think from USC's perspective, the LSU game is kind of a mystery, because there's some guys that are not on the team anymore at LSU on offense, especially, that were so big last year. But, you got to believe LSU's got some great athletes, especially on defense. And, USC has to replace its quarterback, and they've got issues. So if they lose, the problem with losing to LSU isn't they losing to LSU, because that's a good program. The problem is it's going to reinforce this feeling of discontent that surrounded the program last season with Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, and speaking to that, Lincoln Riley was asked some really tough questions at Big Ten Media Days. He was his feet were kind of held to the fire almost more than any other coach up on the podium. What did you take away from his appearances at Big Ten Media Days?
Well, I thought it was a disaster in some respects, specifically when he was asked about playing Notre Dame.
Yeah,
and he talked like he would like to get out of that game if possible. And we already know he tried to get out of the LSU game unsuccessfully. And, they dropped Ole Miss. And it seems like he doesn't want to play anybody now in the non-conference. But, Notre Dame goes back to 1926. And, we're dealing with a guy, Lincoln Riley. And I know, he's probably hated by the people listening to this program right now, which is fine by me. But this is a guy who has zero appreciation of the tradition of USC, and he doesn't care. He doesn't try to meet the boosters. He doesn't try to meet the alumni. He doesn't even walk the campus to meet students or faculty or staff or whoever, public. He makes no effort. So I don't think he understands the backlash that's coming if he actually does try to get out of that rivalry, because that's the glamour game for USC. They have 2 big games, UCLA and Notre Dame, but like I said, it's almost 100-year rivalry, and he doesn't understand it, because I don't think he cares. I think from his point of view, he'll go to the NFL anyways, sooner or later. So he doesn't really care what the backlash would be.
One of the things he did last year was if I'm remembering it correctly, was restrict some of the access that media would have to the team. I mean, almost a year removed from that, how has that been received among the LA media?
Well, he's restricted the media more than it's used to being restricted, but at the same time, from what I heard at Oklahoma, he had almost no media interaction. And so he's kind of had to bend in that respect to the LA media, but he did ban a reporter last season for a few days because he didn't like some stuff that was written. But he's not a people person, and the people in LA didn't know that. Maybe you guys knew that from your, proximity to Oklahoma, but people didn't really know that when he got the USC job, and they've learned it the last couple seasons. And it's okay. You don't have to be a people person if you're winning. But the problem last year is he started losing, and then he had no base of support that he could rely on. So if he doesn't win this year, things are going to get pretty dicey for him at SC.
Well, he did add a new defensive coordinator, plucked D'Anton Lynn from UCLA. Is this the guy that can turn around a defense that was pretty porous last season?
Well, I think the easy answer is he's got to make them better because the bar was so low under Alex Grinch. So they're going to be better than they were with Lynn. The question is going to be, how are they going to do in these big games, these marquee games? Are they going to be better in those games? And, you know, you look at the defense, they're going to have at least two guys starting who were starting at Oregon State last year. And they're good players, but it just shows you when USC's taking guys from Oregon State, something's wrong with the program. So it might be a little much to ask for like a huge improvement in one season, but they will be better. The flip side of that is the offense might be worse because you don't have Caleb Williams anymore.
Yeah, and that's right where I was going with my next question. Miller Moss, he did get everyone excited with that 370 plus passing performance in the Holiday Bowl last season. I'm just wondering, is that kind of, obviously that kind of production is not sustainable every single game, but what do you think his projection for the season should be?
Well, I think the bowl game, I think, unfortunately, kind of has raised expectations to an unrealistic level.
Yeah,
because you're dealing with a quarterback who's nowhere near as athletic as Caleb Williams was, and so much of the offense the last 2 years revolved around Williams making something out of nothing on plays. And, you know, they're still going to be good. I mean, they could be very good offensively. Let me be clear about that, because they've got weapons, and Lincoln Riley might be a horrible defensive coach, but he does have good offenses. But I don't know. I mean, they've had trouble the last couple of years at times in key stretches of games offensively, and that was with Caleb Williams. So it's just hard for me to believe it's going to be better with Miller Moss. And if it goes down, you know, from what they've had the last couple of years, that's going to put the O-line under a lot of pressure because Moss is not the athlete Williams was.
Yeah.
And it's going to mean the running game has to step up. And the reason the running game hasn't really been important the last 2 years is because Lincoln Riley didn't value the running game. So I think he has to change his philosophy this year.
Talking to Scott Wolf of Inside USC in our summer school roll through the Big Ten. Scott, one of my favorite players in college football last year was the freshman wide receiver, Zachariah Branch. Just so electrifying, so much fun. He was good for a big play, it seemed like, every time out. What's his growth been like, and how does he fit into this offense this year?
Well, he's vital to the team. I mean, I think he's probably the most important player because they're going to need him to do something special on special teams. And then they're going to need him to start doing what he didn't do a lot last year, which is break some big plays on offense. And one of the reasons that he didn't is he didn't get enough touches last year, which is kind of crazy to think about, but that's just the way Riley's offense was. So he's got to become the focal point of the offense. And even if it means maybe giving him the ball on a reverse or something, just get the ball in his hands. So I think they've got to try to get him, 10 to 15 touches a game if they want to be successful. And if they don't, it's probably coaching malpractice on Riley's part.
All right. Do you have a sense of what the season might look like from a record perspective? Give us your prediction for USC this season.
There's so much up in the air because there's so many new guys on defense. You've got some questions, or I do at least, on the offensive line, new quarterback, and then you have, some tough games on the schedule. So I think it's fair to say, 8 wins is kind of the over-under right now. And frankly, if they win 8 games, I think people are going to be mad at USC about that. But if they go above it, people might be okay with it. But, they won 8 games last year, and people were furious. So
yeah, it kind of matters how it happens, right?
Yeah, if you can beat Michigan or, the way the schedule is always set up for USC every other year, if you can beat UCLA and Notre Dame back-to-back, that's huge too. But they've never been in this territory before, playing these, Big Ten teams that are more physical than what they're accustomed to. And every game almost, I think, is going to have a hostile crowd on the road. So that's not something in the Pac-12 they had to deal with. They would go to Pac-12 games and the stadium might be half empty.
Yeah.
So that's the part to me that's going to really be worth monitoring, is how do they do in these hostile atmospheres, and how do they match up on the line of scrimmage with Wisconsin, Penn State, teams like that. Luckily, they don't have to play Ohio State. But those are the types of teams that, they're going to have problems with, I think, at least when it comes to physicality.
All right. That's Scott Wolf of Inside USC. Really appreciate you stopping by today, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And anytime you need me, I'm happy to come on.
All right. Absolutely. Check him out. He's got a website. It's Inside USC, covering all things Trojans. Josh, did you get the sense that Scott Wolf, not a big fan of Lincoln Riley?
That is my takeaway from your conversation. Yes.
I was getting strong don't like this guy vibes.
Boy, sure.
Yeah.
Revealed some things about Coach.
Yep. So if it's the name is Inside USC. So Inside USC, apparently Lincoln Riley not beloved. That was my big takeaway from that. But we appreciate Scott stopping by to talk a little USC football. Next, here on the final hour. Last time I was in, I gave you what I thought were the big questions facing Nebraska football this season. Well, now I got 5 players who I think need to step up for Nebraska to be successful this season. 5 guys. I got a list. It's list season, and I'm making my own lists. We'll do that next on the Connor Happer Show. Appreciate Scott Wolf stopping in. Talk USC, Inside USC blog.
Ooh, really hates Lincoln Riley.
Had some flamethrower ammunition for Lincoln Riley on that one.
Yikes!
Interesting stuff there. Okay, let's do it. Let's do a list, Josh. Let's have a list.
A listicle.
Everybody's doing it. So are we. USA is destroying Italy in women's water polo. It's 10-2.
All is right with the
in
world.
the fourth. Those Italians never stood a chance.
Never.
Okay. I got 5 players who I think need to make a big impact this season. They need to step up. They need to be primetime players. PTPers, as Dickie V would say.
That's right.
Right?
Love you, Dickie.
So we're starting on the offensive line. And it's Teddy Prohaska for me. And it's mainly about the health.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to stay on the field. Because like we've seen it in flashes, and he looks really good, especially when he was a freshman and he got the starting nod a couple of games into the season. Looked like he had locked down that spot because there was turnstiles at left tackle before that. He came in and looked like he had really solidified it. But over the next 2 seasons, he's just been in and out of the lineup with injuries, and we've only gotten to see him a little bit. I love the guy. I think he could be a fantastic, like all Big Ten type of lineman. He's got that much talent. And he's got the body. Like, just got to keep him on the field. And I know that, like, it's not his fault. He doesn't, like, oh, he got injured. That's not. But that's the thing with him. Like, he has to be on the field to be an impact player. You got to be out there. So he's got to stay healthy. He's got to be a guy who can be counted on day in, day out, week in, week out, game to game, to be that lockdown blindside protector for your young freshman quarterback. And if he can do that, I think the rest of that offensive line is going to be solid. And if you can just hold down that left tackle spot, everything's going to be fine. I have another offensive player. And at the risk of being tweeted at, it's Thomas Fedoni.
Shh, John.
I like Thomas Fedoni. Loved what he did last year.
He's listening.
And I, too, was like, I don't know if this guy's ever going to make the field. Like, 2 injuries in 2 years that kept him out for an entire season. The doubts started to creep in. Like, yeah, he was the number 1 tight end in America, but we never get to see him. We got to see him last year, and in those moments, he was very good. Like, he showed you exactly why he was considered the number 1 tight end in the country. Now we got to take it to the next level. 4 touchdowns a year ago. I'm saying we need at least 6 this season out of Thomas Fedoni. We need 6 touchdowns from the tight end spot, and he's the prime suspect to get them. Your young freshman quarterback's going to need that security blanket.
Absolutely.
He's going to need and look like SVP says, the tight end's always open. Since the beginning of time, the tight end's been open.
Mm-hmm. You better be Linus Fedoni this year.
That is excellent work by you, Josh.
Thank you. That's why I'm here.
You need that in your offense. You need that extra piece, that underneath receiver who can just be open all the time and be there when your quarterback needs a bailout throw. And contributing to the scoring effort, 6 touchdowns. We get that out of Thomas Fedoni, this offense will be really, really good. That's my belief. I think he can be that kind of player. And look, for so long, I think we have been waiting for Nebraska to have a breakout tight end. And every year, whoever the starting tight end is, we're like, this is the year. This is when Nebraska uses the tight end. And every year they don't really. And there have been so many. Like, think about the guys that played tight end in Nebraska that have gone on to play in the NFL and how little they actually did while they were Cornhuskers. It's kind of shocking. There are dudes in the NFL who played tight end at Nebraska that have done way more in their NFL careers than they ever did playing for Nebraska. this has got to be the year. It's got to be the year for a breakout tight end. We got to get the tight end involved. It's got to happen, and it's got to be Thomas Fidone. That all of that promise and all that things we saw last year, all that's got to come to fruition again. You've got the wide receivers around you now to open it up, to give you that space in the middle of the field. It's got to happen. The tight end spot's got to become a prime part of this offense.
I don't know if you've noticed the game of football has changed. The tight end is very important. If you have a good one,
absolutely,
you're good to go.
Okay, now we'll move over. I got 3 guys on defense. And I know you're saying like only 2 guys on the offense you say need to step up. I think everyone else on the offense is pretty obvious. Like you need Dalen Raiola to be good. You need a running back to emerge. Those transfer wide receivers have got to carry weight, and the youngsters who are now sophomores have to come along. Like those are obvious things to me. So I didn't feel like I needed to go that deep into it. All like the offense in general just needs to be better, and you can't turn it over as many times. That's all been played ad nauseum. Those 2 guys, Fidone and Prohaska, for me are the 2 individuals who really need to make an impact on this offense for it to be good. On the defensive side, you have 2 D linemen who I think pretty much consensus around here we think are really good and are going to be really good in Hutmaker and Ty Robinson. Like those guys are expected to be awesome. They were awesome last year. It's the 3rd guy on the defensive line, Jamari Butler. If he's really good and plays at the same level that the other 2 are playing at, nobody's run the ball in Nebraska. If Jamari Butler is awesome, this run defense, forget running the ball. If he comes along and makes the kind of impact that the other 2 guys on the defensive line are making, the defense is going to be as good as it was last year. So he's a big key for me on the defensive side, Jamari Butler. And contributing to the pass rush would be nice as well. He led the team in sacks last year, I do believe. 4.5.
Let's get some sacks this year.
Let's get some sacks. That might be another point of emphasis for a later position on this defensive impact players list.
Sorry, I'm not trying to spoil your list.
No, it's a tease. We call that a tease in radio, Josh.
I'm a professional.
You are.
Did that on purpose.
Now, the next 2, they're kind of wild cards. Because the next one that I have is the cornerback who plays opposite Tommy Hill. We thought it was going to be Bly Hill, and then the injury happened. He's not going to be on the 120 entering camp. Don't know what that means. When is he going to be back? Maybe not. So whoever it is opposite Tommy Hill came a long way last year. If you remember, his first season, he was almost a liability. They had to take him off the field. Malcolm Hartzog got to start because Tommy Hill was not getting it done. Last year was a different Tommy Hill. He was that kind of lockdown corner that you need to have. He was a guy who, you just weren't completing passes against him. So whoever's opposite him now, believe that Tommy Hill can carry that over and be that type of player again. Whoever it is opposite him has got to be good, because teams are going to notice, okay, they got this guy on that side. We don't really want to throw at him. The other side of the field is going to be targeted. So whoever's over there is going to have to hold it down pretty well. You don't have to be probably an all Big Ten, all American kind of player, but you got to be good. You got to have somebody over there who can carry their own weight. So whoever that is on that opposite corner, you got to get it done. The back end going to be real important because, as I said earlier, I think Jamari Butler is going to be really good, and I don't think teams are going to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to throw it. And you're going to see a lot of passes coming your way if you're playing that opposite side corner. We don't yet know exactly who it's going to be. I mean, maybe they slide Malcolm Hartzog from the nickel spot into that starting corner spot. Who knows? Mario Buford's just a freshman. Dwight Boodle's just a freshman. Don't know. If it's Hartzog, he's got to be good. That is a key piece on the defensive side. And finally, it's a combination of MJ Sherman, Prince Will, whoever plays that rush linebacker spot. This is what I was alluding to. You've got to be able to generate a pass rush from that position. That kind of hybrid position between defensive line outside backer that they use mostly as a pass rusher. We've heard some things in camp. Prince Will's got to be consistent. He's got to bring the energy every play. He's got to be ready to play every down. MJ Sherman, still kind of an unknown quantity. Had a lot of good things said about him. Where's the production? But generating a pass rush, for all the reasons that I highlighted when talking about the corners, is going to be huge. Because again, I don't think that teams are going to have a ton of success running the ball at this Nebraska defense. I think that the run defense is going to be really, really good. Like top 25, top 20 type good rush defense, which is going to force teams into throwing. And if you're not generating a pass rush, it's pretty obvious. It puts a lot of pressure on the defensive backs. We've already got some injuries back there. Yes, Deshaun Singleton's coming back. But that opposite corner spot, still a little bit of an unknown. If MJ and Prince Will can generate pass rush, generate sacks, I think one of those two guys has got to be above 5. You've got to be above 5 sacks from that rush end spot to really have success as a defense. It's going to be tough. Like, Nebraska hasn't had a lot of primetime pass rush numbers in the last handful of years. That's got to change. And one of those two, MJ Sherman or Prince Will, has to be the bell cow for that position. So to recap the list, I think on offense, Teddy Prohaska, got to stay healthy. Thomas Fedoni, we got to see a little bit more production. Good things last year. Loved what I saw. Let's get 6 touchdowns this year. That'll be good. Defense, Jamari Butler, round out that defensive line, make the same kind of impact that the other two guys are. Run defense is going to be a brick wall. The opposite corner from Tommy Hill, and in that rush linebacker spot. If you get all those things going, this is going to be a good season for Nebraska football. Feel confident. If all those guys make a significant impact this year, we're going to like what we see on the field. We're going to be happy come December.
I would love to be happy in December.
Isn't that? Yeah, that's a time for happiness, right? December.
Yeah.
It hasn't been happy Decembers around here lately.
You might say it's been a long December.
You might say, counting crows. Adam Duritz would say so.
Thank you.
We got wavelength today, Josh. It's just working.
Clicking.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take another break here, and then I'm going to talk to you about Aaron Rodgers and his discussion with Garrett Wilson. You probably saw the video. I might have thought about it a little differently than you did.
Oh.
We'll do that next. So we round out the show here on Connor Happer. Yes, indeed. Final segment for your Wednesday. Appreciate Mitch Sherman, Ellie French, Robin Washut, Scott Wolf, now noted hater of Lincoln Riley. At least on this station. Maybe he was already noted for that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's the guy. Every fan base, every bunch of scribes has the one guy like, oh, that's the guy who hates the team and always writes about how he hates the team.
Yep.
Maybe he's that guy for them, but
yeah. You and I were just watching some women's canoe slalom on our Olympic broadcast here in the studio.
As you do.
I don't want to do that.
The slalom.
Yeah.
I'll watch it.
I don't want to do it.
It looks really hard. Like a lot of Olympic sports look hard. And I know even if it doesn't look hard, it is hard to get to that level. But boy, that just looks like a struggle that I want no part of.
It looks like, why would you do that to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like. But the German lady beat the American. She won the gold.
Also, I'd like to see the forearms of some of these competitors just on the street.
Okay. I mentioned you probably saw the video, Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson at training camp for the Jets having a pretty heated discussion. Did you see that?
I did see this.
Yeah.
I assumed it was about politics.
That's one assumption you could make. Is there trouble in paradise? Does someone not like Aaron Rodgers?
How dare they?
I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I like making fun of him.
I enjoy making fun of him, yes.
I mean, he thinks vaccines are bad and homeopathy is real. Those are two really dumb takes. Because one is like homeopathy is demonstrably not a real thing.
It's just vibes.
Yeah, you're drinking water is what you're doing.
Water is important.
Diluting your medicines does not make it stronger. Hello.
Seems like it would have the inverse effect.
Yeah,
just logically.
But they were arguing about some things. It was pretty animated. Garrett Wilson looked upset. I think we make too much out of these things.
Definitely.
We don't have the audio. We don't have any idea what that conversation was. And this is how conspiracy theories start. You get a little sliver of something that might be information, and it gets extrapolated into this big thing. These things are born out of a lack of solid information.
I have 5% of the story. Is that enough? I'm going to run with it.
Absolutely. This stuff gets blown up into things that don't need to be blown up so often.
But it's New York. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's the NFL.
Right. And Aaron Rodgers is imminently hateable. Like, I get it. And you think, like, well, that guy's a jerk, so everybody probably hates him. And you might be right. But that might not have even been the situation that they were in. They might have been, you don't know what they were disagreeing about. You can make a guess, but that's all it is.
Donkey Kong is the best video game of all time.
I disagree.
It's a very good game.
Donkey Kong sucks.
You suck. See? We're yelling.
We're yelling. But it's too much. Okay. Maybe there is trouble. Maybe Garrett Wilson doesn't like him.
Maybe some of the team didn't like that he went to Egypt for a few days when he was supposed to be here training in the hot sun like them. Maybe.
Which would be an extremely valid criticism. But we don't know.
And we never will.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers was like, hey, I'm taking the wide receivers out for dinner. We're going to this vegan yeast ball restaurant. And Gary Wilson's like, I'm not doing it, bro. I'm not going.
I want
not
Brazilian
doing that.
steakhouse.
I'm not with you. I'm not doing it. Just be careful when you make assumptions and extrapolations. think critically about some of these things. Use your faculties. It's not always the worst possible conclusion is the right one. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. Okay, Josh.
John,
let's recap our poll questions, okay?
Updating the poll questions. You can find them on Twitter at Happer Show. We begin with the most voted on poll question of the day from this morning's crossover. Is Burger King the rednecks of fast food restaurants?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Now, some people thought we meant, is Burger King the redneck of fast food restaurants? That's not what the question is. Go back to the AM crossover radio replay page, 1620thezone.com. 61% of the audience says yes.
61% of the audience is right.
Good job, audience. Does life revolve around 84th and center? A weird sentence that came out of Gary's mouth.
Sharp said that, yeah.
83% of the audience said no, not anymore.
Nope. I agree. No, it doesn't.
Do you know about pedal boats?
I know about pedal boats.
Yeah. 89.5% of the audience said yes, of course. I know about pedal boats.
I've been to Platte River State Park. I know about pedal boats.
We've all been there. And finally, are you going to bite into a surprise burrito?
Well, I answered this one already, and the answer is a definitive no. I'm not biting into the surprise burrito.
75% of the audience on Jon Schreiner's side. No, you will not bite into the surprise burrito. And no, that's not code for something.
75% of you are very smart people.
That's a good percentage. I like that. I like rolling with that.
I love it. All right, Josh, what are we watching today?
We are watching baseball. A couple of games on right now. Marlins Rays on ESPN Plus. That'll be a barn burner. Yankees Phillies also right now on MLB Network. That will be a barn burner. It was last night. Right now on 1180, it is Royals White Sox. A loss puts the Chicago White Sox in the top 20 for longest losing streaks of all time in Major League Baseball.
Cool. At least they're making history somehow.
Yeah, let's take a look. It's tied 3-3 in the top of the third. So
cool.
You got a fighting chance. Cubs Reds 6:00 tonight on MLB Network, followed by Rockies Angels. Basketball, the Olympics variety, Team USA versus South Sudan, kicking off relatively soon here on USA. 3x3 basketball. Men's and women's both took an L yesterday.
Yikes.
They look to get back on track. Right now on E, the women's 3x3 basketball team is taking on Azerbaijan. So hopefully they can pull that one out. And then
they better win that.
Yeah. And then I believe it is followed by the men's 3x3. Really hard for me not to say like 3-on-3, but three, trying to do it the right way. 3x3, 3x3. Men's team taking on Poland, 3:45 on NBC. Events in prime time tonight on NBC, 7:00. The men's gymnastics all-around final. Get to see the bronze medalists. Those guys were fun to watch. Lots of energy there.
That was fun.
Women's 100-meter free final. And Katie Ledecky takes center stage as she will likely win a gold in the women's 1,500-meter freestyle final. Non-sports things to watch tonight, John, on Netflix. Volume 4 premiere, all 5 episodes of Unsolved Mysteries.
Ooh.
Revisit a classic episode about a humanoid creature and explore new mysteries, including an examination of a notorious serial killer. 5 episodes, that's all you're giving us at a time? Like, work harder, people.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries.
Robert Stack is a legend.
That guy, he was like the most frightening person on television when you were a kid, right?
He was.
Yeah.
Like him and the Crypt Keeper kept me up at night.
Yep.
Just that voice.
And he was always standing in like in a dark basement with a trench coat on.
It was maybe it had just gotten done raining.
Yeah.
It looked like
always, every time.
Yeah.
It was a scene out of a horror movie that had just finished. Like the horror movie's over now, and now we're doing the promo for Unsolved Mysteries.
14 babysitters are dead. Follow me. You want to see a dead body?
Unsolved Mysteries update. Loved when they did the update.
Always great.
All right, Josh, it's been fun. But now it's time to turn the reins over to John
Enjoy
and Josh.
LA.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Love that we're getting to do that. It's going to be very cool.
After Hours goes Hollywood tomorrow night.
That's true. We're leaving tomorrow morning early. We'll be in Hollywood. We'll do the After Hours show from Los Angeles tomorrow and Friday, and then we'll have the pre-fight show on Saturday.
Special
for an hour.
Saturday
Yep.
show.
And then
2 o'clock, right?
2 o'clock. We're going to do, we'll be at the weigh-ins. We'll be at the press conferences. We'll be there for all that stuff. So you can check. I imagine we're going to send some video back to Nick. He'll post it on the station account and all that stuff. So there'll be some cool things out of the After Hours show this weekend.
That's awesome. Have fun with
Yeah,
that.
it's going to be great. Thanks for all your work. Thanks for inviting me in. It's been fun. And now the Connor Happer show has come to an end. The crossover is next.